Alfie is a WOR race winner.
Jensen makes it 5 in a row.
Danny Berejnay wins on debut.
Shinaka returns to winning ways in WOR.
Season 12 sees a new man. It's Shadow. He is your Xbox champion.
And Jensen is the new king of PlayStation.
From the back row of the grid, against all odds, Nicholas Longy wins the title.
Goes past the safety car.
What has gone on here?
Bourbon spins.
Stunning move from the Spaniard.
He's taken out Rambo.
Here comes Longy.
We're going 4 wide down to turn 1.
Oh, he's taking him out.
The champion riders collide.
Sonic to the inside.
Shadow wins the Brazil.
Absolutely sensational.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the WOR YouTube channel for round number 14 of PC Tier 1 in Season 13. Tonight, the drivers are going to be taking on the Interlagos circuit in Sao Paulo, Brazil. Of course, the circuit that ended last season and crowned Nicholas Longy our champion. We could have another champion here tonight. My name is Dan Field, and I'm being joined, of course, by Luke Etheridge. As always, Luke, how are you doing today?
I'm very well, thanks. Good evening, Dan. Good evening to everyone that is watching. It's Brazil. It's Interlagos, a track which has seen its fair share of drama and title deciders over the years. And yeah, very possibly we could have a title battle being decided tonight. Still going to be 4 title contenders here. 2 races to go, 1 more after this. But with the form he's in at the moment, Thomas Ronhav is going to take some stopping.
Absolutely, Thomas Ronhav, of course, in some fine form at the moment. He is 17 points clear of Jarno Opmeer in the championship. And of course, Jarno had an awful race last time out, qualifying right at the back of the order, then having a collision with, I believe it was like Mirko Soriano, I think it could have been. And then he ended up leaving the race, so he scored nothing last time out. Marin Pedreño also caught himself up in some drama towards the end of the race, as did Jake Benham. So everything sort of just worked out in Thomas Ronhav's favour, and if everything goes his way tonight, he will be champion of Season 13.
Yeah, we'll just quickly get the permutations up that he needs to win the championship tonight. So you can see there, if he takes the victory, Jarno's got to finish in second place, otherwise the championship will be over. Now technically, if Ronhav doesn't finish on the podium, then he won't technically secure the championship tonight, but given the fact that Lucas hasn't turned up for the majority of the season, and we're 99% certain won't be turning up for Abu Dhabi in 2 weeks, pretty much ignore Lucas out of all of this. So you can see the permutations there, what Ronhav has to do. Pedreño and Benham, realistically, they've got to win to have any massive chance of winning the title next time around. But I'd say even for Jarno, he's got to ensure that he finishes ahead of, he's got to finish ahead of Ronhav tonight, I think, if he wants to have a realistic chance. And last time out, like you said, qualifying wasn't exactly fantastic for him out of Japan, so I'll certainly be hoping he's got a better qualifying session in him. But Brazil's a circuit that can cause surprises, that can just show some crazy results.
Absolutely, and I think qualifying is very important around this circuit. It is quite difficult to overtake. Of course, you do have some of the key areas like in towards the Senna S's at turn number 1, and then right down at the back of the Retro Aposta, where we are likely going to see the majority of our overtakes into that 4th corner. Qualifying, though, it is going to mean a lot. And of course, Jarno Opmeer, we saw at the beginning of the season, he really did struggle with qualifying pace, and then it would be in the race where he would make up the deficit. And we thought he had those issues sorted out. hasn't really gone his way for him in recent weeks. I really do hope that we can see a sort of return to form for the Flying Dutchman and where he can really take the fight to his fellow countrymen. I'll quickly run through the grid that we have tonight. I believe we have had a few changes coming into this one, so there's certainly going to be a mixed up grid. It should make for a very exciting race. We've got Jake and Jarno in the Mercedes, Liam Parnell and then Andrei Tarabukin in the Red Bull, Modesto Mena and Mirko Soriano in the Ferrari, Ruben Pedreño and then Xander Van Dyken. We've got Luke in the McLaren. We have Luke Smith and Antoine Desaluski, a name that we've not heard in quite some time, I believe, in the Alpine. Then the AlphaTauri is Joseph Loke and Jona Martins, Aston Martin, Manuel Biancalila and John Evans, although I believe we might have had someone come in for him. If I'm not mistaken, it might actually be for somebody else. We'll have a look in just a moment's time. The Williams is Primoz Michalčič, and then Connor Muir, lefted, as you might know him as, Alfa Romeo's Carter Lundy and Drake Dempsey, and then the Haas team is George Nader, and of course our championship leader at the moment, Thomas Ronhaar. So it's not the grid that we normally see in WOR Tier 1, but Luke, it is certainly going to bring some excitement for us this evening.
Yeah, you've got that. Obviously, you've got the main title contenders in. Jake is just trying to join in right now, and I believe John Evans might be joining in partway through qualifying, so hopefully it won't be too long before we are going to get underway. But yeah, we've got the title contenders. We've got those drivers that have been, sort of there or thereabouts this season. Your likes of, Mirko Soriano, George Nader, Carter and Drake have put in good performances in the races this season. And then we've got people we're seeing for the first time. Connor Muir, aka Lefted, Antoine Desaluski. No pressure on them, really. Don't know if they'll have prepared anywhere near as much as some of the others, so wouldn't surprise me if they struggle a bit in the first stage of qualifying. And a reminder, it is full qualifying here at WOR in the top tier, but later on in the race comes, they might just be able to have a bit of freedom, have a bit of fun, and who knows, might just surprise us with what results you get. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting race, a pretty stacked grid, quite a short circuit as well, so any mistakes in qualifying are going to be amplified.
And this is actually quite a long race, 36 laps, which of course, I mean, it is a shorter distance, but that is going to be some endurance for these drivers that is required. I believe we are going to get ready to go soon. We've got 19 drivers in the lobby, so we are just waiting on John Evans to join. Jake is in here. For some reason, the weather was set to wet for a moment, but I think it's been turned off. There's a lot of problems going on at the moment in the chat, but I do believe we are going to get going very, very soon. So everyone in at the live chat at the moment, please let us know where you're watching from. Who are you supporting this evening? Got 113 live viewers. I think this might be a good time just to remind everyone of our socials. Of course, WOR League on Twitter. You can follow us on there. Make sure you subscribe as well. Join the Discord in the description, and then you'll get all your updates for WOR on then. I'm seeing Tony supporting Jarno Opmeer. Then we've got Astrid as well, Jarno and Ronhaar. A lot of Dutch fans, I believe, in this live chat here tonight, Luke. And I now think we're going to get going.
Yeah, don't think you can go too far wrong supporting Jarno and Ronhaar. Certainly with the form Ronhaar's been in the last few races, and Jarno Opmeer as well. I know we said Japan was a bit disappointing for him, and USA he had the issues with the pedals in qualifying, which meant he wasn't able to take part in the entire qualifying, but managed to come back from last to third place. Hopefully, for his sake, he won't have them same issues tonight. We've spoken a bit about the circuit already, the Autorama, Jose Carlos Pache. It's not the easiest to get an overtake on. Those two DRS zones, one towards Vicena S, one down the Retro-Aposta towards the Cido de Largo. That turn 4 is an opportunity, but I think it's one of those corners, a bit like we saw at turn 1 last week at Japan. You've pretty much got to get the move done almost before you're at the corner. If you try and do it on the brakes and the car in front isn't expecting it, it's bound to end up in some contact, and very easy to get a penalty and get warnings there on the exit of the corner.
It is quite a fast corner, so there is certainly going to be some issues there if we see some action. And I remember in past years as well, there's been 3 wide battles in smoke, so hopefully we're not going to see too much of that this evening, but we should be getting ready to go very, very soon. You can see the pinned message in the live chat at the moment is that John Evans will potentially join late to make 20 drivers. whether or not that means in Q1, because of course, if it's in Q1, he has a chance to get in the car, set a lap, and then maybe get into Q2. But if he's not going to be able to get there, then, well, he's going to be starting dead last. And I think that could be a nice last question mark challenge for John Evans. Maybe if he's going to, you know, he could have a little go with that. I'm seeing there's support for Jarno from Kenya. So all around the world, I guess that is fitting for World Online Racing. We've got you've got your own fan, Luke. Jordan from Sweden, rooting for Luke, the commentator.
That is nice. That is nice to have some support. It is much appreciated. We've been asked who we're supported as well. We're completely impartial. We're just hoping for a fantastic race, hopefully. And it shouldn't now be too long before we are getting underway. I think almost everyone is in the session apart from John Evans. We are now just loading into the lobby. It was set as wet earlier, which thankfully it's now been corrected to dynamic weather. But yeah, you don't really need it set into wet at Brazil. It is a circuit that is known for getting its rain, and I've seen it happen on this game. I've seen it happen on previous games as well. It gets wet pretty quickly. Within 1 or 2 laps of the rain coming down, you might see drivers popping in for intermediate and wet weather tyres. We thought it was going to rain in Suzuka in qualifying. Looked very overcast at the first stage of qualifying there, and ended up being a dry session. So we'll see what the weather is going to be like in this qualifying session when it gets underway.
Absolutely, and we are in the lobby now. So Q1, 18 minutes in this session, and the bottom 5 gets eliminated. Well, in this case, it is actually the bottom 4 because we only have 19 drivers in the lobby so far. So wherever you place in this session, it doesn't really matter as long as you're in that top 15. And at the moment, some cloud coverage in the sky, but mostly, Luke, it is looking nice and blue up there.
Yeah, not too bad at all. Pretty ideal conditions, I think, to be driving around at the moment. It being such a short track, you know, there's a bit less time pressure than there is at some other circuits. You know, we're going to see times, well, you know, well underneath 70 seconds around here, well underneath 1 minute 10. That's probably about the pace I'd be setting around here. So who knows what we're going to see these guys doing. For those who aren't familiar, they're going to be on the intermediate tyres first, just to make sure that, you know, their wheels working right, just to make sure they've got their setup loaded in, and therefore not wasting a set of the soft tyres, which they're going to need to set all their fastest laps on, of course. And headed out onto the circuit first, it's going to be Drake Dempsey, the first man out there, our reigning Tier 2 champion, of course, who won the title around this circuit last year. So might be feeling pretty confident about his chances of getting a good result tonight.
Yeah, absolutely, and I would love to see this young driver up in Tier 1 fighting with some of the esports greats maybe next season, but it's good that he's getting his shot here tonight out on a set of the intermediate tyres, of course. So we're not going to be expecting any blistering laps until about the 10-minute mark, and I'd hate to go on board with him at the moment because he is completely destroying his engine. And I'm actually going to have to remove one of the ears from my earphones because that is very much hurting my ears. But yeah, we're not going to see any insanely quick lap times at the moment. So that gives us a little bit more time to just sort of indulge in this circuit. A lot of undulation around here. There's a lot of tricky corners as well to get right. So it's certainly going to throw some spanners in the works this evening.
Yeah, definitely. That middle sector is exceptionally tricky to get right, especially once you're on the older tyres. It's really a circuit of 2 halves. The final bit and the first sector, so sector 1 and sector 3, very short, very fast indeed, as you can just see Cartalondo making his way around there now towards the start-finish line. Sector 2, it's all about just having good mechanical grip. You don't need lots of downforce at that part of the circuit, but you really need the car rotating well. You really need the rear tyres giving you that purchase, which when you're on older tyres, it's not going to be doing. And if you're on newer tyres trying to make an undercut work or trying to work your way through the field, you get stuck behind a slower car in Sector 2, it's going to be bad news for your strategy.
Yeah, it really can mess you up if you do get caught in traffic. And of course, in qualifying as well, it is quite difficult to get out of the way. So, you do need to plan your runs right. And hopefully these drivers, they're all going to sort of have their own little strategies worked out and when they're going to come out on track so they can avoid all the traffic. Drake Dempsey in towards the final sector, of course, on the intermediate tyres. We'll see what lap time it is anyways. It's probably going to be similar to what we would be setting around this circuit, Luke, if I'm being completely honest. But opening up the DRS, so you're going to cross the line. Indeed, he will. No need to come into the pit lane here. And the first time on the board for Drake Dempsey is a 1 minute 11.0. As far as intermediate times go, I'm not too sure if that's bad or not.
Yeah, it's not too bad, to be perfectly honest. The intermediate tyres on this game seem to be so much nicer than the intermediate tyres on previous games. You can get a lot closer to the, to the good times that you'd be expected to set. So, yeah, not too surprising to see that 1:11.0 at the moment. Cartomondi, I think, invalidated his lap time. We've just seen another car coming across the line. Luke Smith there, going fastest of everyone. First time we've seen Luke Smith since he made his esports debut. So really looking forward to seeing what he can do tonight. Again, a driver that did fantastically well this season, but because of esports, hasn't really concentrated on league racing. And these are the types of drivers that could make it hard for Jarno to gain the points that he needs over the final 2 races, because all of a sudden, these guys are going to start getting involved in it, which could help, which could hinder him quite dramatically if he has a bit of a bad qualifying. Could also help him, though, because they might be able to get him between himself and Ron Hard. Just depends what kind of situation we're going to be in. And as you've just seen, we're not going to get John Evans in the session, but we have got Harlan Marquis joining the session. So Harlan Marquis will be in there, meaning more normal qualifying session. Bottom 5 getting knocked out of this one, and then 11th to 15th knocked out next time around.
Yep, I just noticed that he joined at the bottom. I was wondering, I know he's good friends with some of the boys here. I think he, before sort of everyone joined all one league, that they would use to league race together. So I thought he was just going to join in to like do some engineering or something, but no, he's getting in the car, and it's good to see Harlan Marquis. I've commentated over him a few times, and he is certainly a quick driver, and he also puts the grind in. I can see on Steam how many hours people put in. He's always up there, so he's always working hard on this game, trying to set the best times possible and really improve his racecraft. You can see on the left-hand side of your screen, drivers are now beginning to lick tyres. Normally it's around about the 10-minute mark that we see the first soft runs coming out. Joseph Loke has gone around twice. He's done a 1 minute 10.7. So at the moment, in terms of intermediate laps, Luke Smith clear cut above the rest. But when are we going to see the first runners coming out on a set of the soft compound tyre? Luke Smith also fitting on a set of the softs now, so I don't think we are too long from seeing the first phase of quali runs in this session.
Yeah, certainly not. Won't be too long before everyone starts putting the set of soft tyres on. Smith fastest, Joseph Loke second at the moment. Last season on the Xbox tier, finished second at this circuit and in the championship on the Xbox behind Tom Manley. In terms of the top tier last year, it might have been Nicholas Longay who secured the championship around here, but it was Alvaro Cavaton who took the victory. Fabrizio Donoso in second and Alfie Butcher who finished in third place. So none of those drivers racing tonight, of course. Thomas Ronhar, though, did finish in 6th place. And if things go his way, that 6th place might be enough to pretty much secure the championship tonight. Pretty unofficially, because Lucas could mathematically still catch him. And in fact, that's showing that Ronhar's retired from the session. So that is going to make his job a lot harder. We know one of the drivers is going to be exiting qualifying, and that is Thomas Ronhar.
Wow. Okay, very interesting from Thomas Ronhar to retire in the pit lane, I guess, of coming up through the grid. And so this could be a good opportunity for the likes of Pedreño, Benham and Opmir. If they can qualify well, they can secure some good points ahead of not able to get through the grid. Got one car coming out on circuit, and it is Connor Muir coming out onto the track. An icon, I would say, in the Xbox League racing scene. Good to see him on the PC, of course, known as Lefted. We'll see what he can do, as he is the first runner out on a set of the softs, but I do believe there's an Alfa Romeo exiting the pit lane too. That's Drake Dempsey also coming out onto the track. And Luke, once again, we're seeing around about the 10-minute mark, the drivers come out and they fit on a set of the soft compound. We're going to get some running in this session.
Yeah, you can pretty much set your clock by these drivers heading out of the pits with about 10 minutes to go to get their first soft runs. And also as well, the Alfa Romeos, no matter who's driving for them, whether it be, Tomic and Nicholas earlier on in the season, Drake or Carter now, they always seem to be the drivers that are out there early as possible trying to set their lap times. But it is going to be the first soft run. The Irishman, Connor Muir, what can he do with his first show in Tier 1 of WORPC this season? Down through the centre S, nice and steady through there. Don't get too greedy in the braking zone, and don't get too greedy through the curve of the Sol on that curve either. The pit lane feeds you out onto the left-hand side, which could cause some interesting action in the race at a 60.7 through sector 1 now. Through Decido Delago, that double left-hander there, climbing the hill once more, battles through that corner, might not end until they get their way through Ferrajova here, that double right-hander. And now just nice and steady at this part of the lap. He has got a car not too far ahead of him as he makes his way around Pinarino. Just getting a little bit of a slide there. Vico de Pato, where Hamilton and Albon had their collision in 2019, costing Hamilton the podium and, of course, potentially costing Albon his first podium in Formula 1 through Miguelio. And now it's one of the most important corners on the circuit. Yungtao, absolutely crucial that you get that right because it is now flat out all the way through turns number 14 and 15, past the grandstands, DRS open, cut that pit line as much as you dare. Normally you'd see drivers staying towards the left-hand side, but that is a 1:07.365 from Mr. Muir. I think we'll be seeing faster as the session goes on.
Yeah, we'll see how Drake Dempsey does on this run. Obviously going quicker than his intermediate time. He's going to open up the DRS once he gets underneath the Liquimoli Armcos and in towards now the start-finish line. This is what we typically see more sticking to the left, but he is about 2/10 slower than Conor Muir, so a decent enough time from the Irishman there. I think he'll be quite pleased with that one. I'm trying to find who is next to come across the line. Joseph Loke is in that final sector. We've got one of the Ferraris on an outlap. The other Alfa Romeo of Carter Lundy, I believe, is next across the line, and we'll see what he can do, the Canadian youngster, as he opens up the DRS like his teammate did last time by, and we'll see what he can do. Can he trump his fellow Alfa Romeo driver? Where can he go on this grid? And he is going to go into P2. So Luke, we're seeing our first times coming through as Joseph Loke crosses the line. Seems like no one could.
Yeah, no pressure on Conor Muir. Like we said, he can just relax at the moment, and that's a very handy lap time indeed. Manuel Biancalila making his way through the middle sector of the lap at the moment. Didn't get any points last time around at Japan in what was quite a chaotic race for a few of the drivers. But yeah, Muir, Loke and Lundy, your top three at the moment. Still not had some of the big names in terms of the championship. Both of the Mercedes out there on their outlaps at the moment. Ruben Pedreño just started his flying lap, so we'll follow around Biancalila to see what he can do. The Aston Martin esports driver making his way towards the finish line. Can he beat Muir's time? Not at the moment. Goes in towards 5th place. Now, Pedreño, oh, he's actually invalidated. I'm going to say normally, Ruben, very good indeed in qualifying. We quite often see him, one and done in the first session. But he's going to have to head out there again. Has invalidated his first run.
Yeah, disappointing from Ruben Pedreño there. The two Mercedes have just begun on their laps. We've got Jake Benham up first and then Jarno Opmeer in behind. And this is going to be crucial laps for them as Jona Martins goes to the top of the order. That's the first driver able to trump Conor Muir. 1:07.224. A handy time from the Dutchman there. Xander Van Dyken, his fellow countryman, goes into P3 just behind the Williams driver, but the two Mercedes now in that middle sector, and as I was saying, these are crucial laps for them because of course their rival Thomas Ronhart in this championship has taken to the pit lane. He's decided to retire and start from the back of the grid as Jake Benham now in towards the final sector. It's a 50.9 through here as now Liam Parnell, I believe, just crossed the line to go into P6, but here comes Jake Benham now as Luke Smith goes into second. Where can the young Englishman go in that Silver Arrows Mercedes car coming across the line? And he is going to go into P9. Not a great time from him there. Jarno Opmeer coming up next. And it is going to be able to trump his teammate. But the two Mercedes in a spot of bother, I'd say. Both of them on a 1:07.5. That is not going to see them safely through, I'd say.
No, definitely not. They'd have wanted a bit more from those laps. Still mixed up at the top of the order though. Martin, Smith, Muir, Van Dyken, Lowe, not drivers that certainly not drivers that we've seen at the last race. And in the case of Martins and Conor Muir, not drivers we've seen for the entirety of the season. They're in the top 5 at the moment. I'd say it's only, possibly Joseph Loke might be feeling safe as well on that 1:07.4. I'd say everyone behind him certainly will be wanting to go out again. But Martin, Smith and Pedreño on that second run, I think he'll be doing very well indeed out there. So yeah, Martin's on the top at the moment. I think they should be safe. We're hearing here Ronhart actually crashed out, possibly doing he might have crashed out doing an intermediate lap, but it's showing that he was still on a soft set of tyres. So yeah, really not sure what happened with that one. He's in the drop zone, so we know he's certainly going out. And Miklevcic, Dezaluski, Tarabukin and Harlan Marquis joining them at the moment. But Otmium and Benham, 1,000th between them. They'll be hoping they can find a bit more on their next lap. Otherwise, they could be in trouble.
Absolutely, and arguably you could say Desaluski, Tarabukin and Marquise's times are representative of what they can actually do. About 0.3 off the pace for Desaluski, a good few seconds for Andrei Tarabukin. Jonah Martins decided to retire in the pit lane. He believes that he has done enough to see himself into the next session. We've got a Red Bull exiting the pit lane, and that is going to be Tarabukin. He knows that he's got to get a lap time on the board. I'd imagine he'll have fueled up for 2 runs just in case something goes wrong on this first lap. He's able to recharge the battery and go once again. It's a smart strategy if you're in that drop zone, but we've just got under 4 minutes left to go in this session. Your current bottom 5, Miklavčić, Desaluski, Tarabukin, Marquise and Ronha, who we know is going to be eliminated. But let us know, everyone, in the live chat, who do you think is going to be a surprise exit from this qualifying session? Normally, we have the drivers that we know are going to be towards the bottom of the session, but then there's always one who is someone you normally typically see fighting for pole position and in Q3. And I wonder, who's that driver going to be this evening who might have underestimated how tricky this circuit can actually be?
I think one that's sticking out to me at the moment, possibly about that, is George Nader. Only just over half a second above the drop zone at the moment, down in 14th place. You might remember last time him and Ruben Pedreño had contact. We thought it was going to be a penalty, but that requires the driver to report it to the stewards, and it was not reported. So Ruben perhaps getting away with one a bit there, but George not looking fantastic at the moment down there, so it could be a bit of a disastrous qualifying session for the Haas team at the moment. And I think Tarabukin's doing the right thing here, getting out early on. We've seen already from Ruben Pedreño, you can get 2 laps out of a set of soft tyres here, especially if you invalidate or mess up your first lap early on. So Tarabukin on this run, we'll see what he can do. We haven't really got, obviously, comparative times for him, as he has only done a lap, I believe, on the intermediates, but 1.4 seconds up already. Van Dijken and Lowe both retired from the session. I think everyone else will be heading out there on the circuit to set their final runs and possibly solidify their place in Q2. I think Cartalundi will be safe. I do think you'll need a 107.5 to get through for everyone else.
And Harlan Marquise has decided to retire in the pit lane, I believe that is. So he is another driver that is confirmed going to be eliminated in this session. Andrei Tarabukin in towards now the final sector. He's got a Haas car right in front of him, of Georges Nader getting ready for his lap. And this is actually going to give him a handy little slipstream down the main straight. And I think it's him out here as now the Red Bull driver comes up towards the line. What is his time going to be? It is P5, and I'd say he is going to be firmly into the next qualifying session with a lap like that. Cartalundi, I believe, is the next one up, and I would say the 107.499, I think that is just about good enough. I'd like to be a little bit more safer if I was him, so I do believe he is doing the right thing, as in towards now the final sector, almost a 10.5 up on his previous best time, so this should be a good enough lap for him. And maybe if I'm Joseph Locals and Van Dijken, I might not be feeling too good about this, because a lot of drivers seemingly improving by a good few tenths. That could put them above and out of the drop zone. As Loke all the way down into 8th position. Now we've got plenty of other runners on laps at the minute, one of them being Mirko Soriano. He's going to come across. Actually, I think there was an outlap. There was a slight visual glitch on my side of things. But Luke, it is certainly heating up at the moment as the bottom 5, Biancalila, Miklavčić, Desaluski, those are the bottom 3 that still have a chance here.
Yeah, Biancalila's just pulled into the pit, so it's all over for him. Jake Benham comes across the line, puts himself in towards 2nd place, so certainly safe for him. George Nader goes fastest of everyone. Primoz Miklavčić just starting another lap then, so I think he should be, well, he's obviously going to have that extra opportunity. Antoine Desaluski, he's going to be starting another lap, but he's not got a lot of ERS in that car, and he's whacked over the curb at Curb de Sol, so that is going to be his lap over, and this is helping a lot of drivers. It's only Miklavčić now that can knock anyone out, so it's, there's not too many drivers that are under big pressure, and Modesto Mena comes across the line. He doesn't find any improvement as well, but just got across the line in time. So it looks like it is going to be Mena versus Miklavčić to see who's going out in Q1.
Yeah, and Drake Dempsey's just about to bring himself across the line and get himself out of that danger zone. He goes into 12th. Modesto Mena on his lap now. Where is Primoz Miklavčić? He is now coming through that second sector in towards sector 3 now, and he's up by 0.2 of a second. Surely this is going to see him ahead of Manuel Biancalila, and I think if I'm Mirko Soriano, I'm going to be quite worried about being eliminated, as here comes now Primoz opening up the DRS, keeping it tight-knit to the right-hand side and coming up towards the line. Where is he going to go? P11 and safely through into the next session. Modesto Mena up by 0.08 of a second in that second sector. Will he be eliminating his teammate from this session? It looks that way, as he's up by just over 0.1 as he comes through Junsao and now onto the start-finish straight. Surely this is going to be Mena getting himself into Q2 as he opens up the DRS and comes across the line, and he does not. Wow. Okay, he's lost all the time in that final sector, and he has seen himself eliminated when he was up by over 0.1 of a second, where he could have easily got himself ahead of Soriano and in towards that top 15. He has seen himself crashing out early in qualifying, and that is 16th and eliminated.
His red light was flashing on the back of the car as soon as he came out of Youngsao, so that is about 150 brake horsepower less than everyone else. Like I said, that corner is so crucial, and that just cost him all the time. Should he perhaps have turned his ERS off throughout this middle sector of the lap and saved a tiny bit to make sure it was safe? If he'd have done that, he might have got through, but ifs and buts and all of that. Mena, Biancalila, Zaleski, Ronhaar and Marquis are going to be the drivers that are heading out. So good news for Thomas Ronhaar. He's not starting in last. He is 19th place. He is going to have one car behind him. I feel like Mirko Soriano might have just got away with one there with his teammate slightly making a mistake with his ERS manage.
Yeah, I see what's happened there with Modesto Mena. He's done 2 laps in a row. He had those tyres fitted for 2 laps, so he'd obviously gone once, it didn't go well, and then he went straight away again. He didn't charge up the battery enough. Really unfortunate to see him out this early in qualifying, but it is Georges Nader, a driver we didn't see too much of in Q1, but he tops the session ahead of Jonah Martins, Jake Benham in 3rd, 4th for Luke Smith, and Rune Pedrono rounds out that top 5. But as previously mentioned, the bottom 5 and eliminated from this session: Modesto Mena, Manuel Biancalila, Antoine Desaluski, Thomas Ronhaar, and Harlem Marquis. That brings us to the end of Q1. Of course, I think the big name going out here, obviously, is Thomas Ronhaar, but that was by his own discretion. I do believe that he just decided to retire in the pit lane. I don't think that was a crash, but maybe I'll have to look on Twitter or something if that's happened.
Yeah, we'll wait and see what happened there, but yeah, it was a bit strange to see that happening from Thomas Ronhaar. In the end, 107.5 was good enough, what Mirko Soriano did, and I think out of those that did 1 lap, that'll be feeling pretty confident. Ruben Pedreño and Conor Muir as well. Like, where on earth did that time come from all of a sudden? I haven't really seen him, obviously, this season whatsoever. More known for racing around on the Xbox, but a fantastic lap there from Conor Muir. Maybe a bit of a dark horse to get a pole position here and really put the cat amongst the pigeons.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? I mean, someone asked who we support, and you said that we were impartial, but you know what? I think we're all Conor Muir fans for this evening. I'd love to see him do well, and I hope he can get himself into Q3. But of course, I mean, you know, impartial. We are into Q2, and of course, what we always see at the beginning of the session is that drivers don't typically run on a fresh set of the tyres. They get a banker time on a scrub set that they used in Q1, and then they come back into the pit lane and then strap on a fresh pair of boots and then come out on that tyre and then try and do their utmost to get in towards that top 10. Same format as Q1, a 15-minute session this time by. The bottom 5 get eliminated. The top 10 will be advancing into Q3 and fighting for pole position. We'll see Xander Van Dyken, the first up, out on circuit and beginning this lap. But of course, don't expect too much, I'd say, from these.
No, it is going to be a pretty steady lap, I imagine, from Xander Van Dyken, who has taken part in 4 races earlier on this season, yet to see the checkered flag in any of them. So he'll really be hoping for, you know, a good performance tonight and getting himself what would be his first points in the top tier of WOR on the PC side of things. Let's not forget he's a former PS champion back in his, I think it was VRT Ballina days, when he won the first ever PlayStation title on this platform. And yeah, I think, you know, it would be nice to see someone they put up towards the top. It would be nice to see Conor Muir doing some good signs, but we saw, I think, a few races ago with Valentin Zyvard where he was doing a fantastic job in qualifying, and then when it came to the race, everything just fell apart for him all of a sudden. So, yeah, being fast in qualifying is one thing, being fast in the race is another, and getting cleanly through qualifying is also a challenge at times. Because on the exit of turn number 3, you are going to see an Alpha Tauri in the wall, and that is Jonas Martins out of this session.
Wow, one of the drivers who was leading the way very early on in Q1, just, I suppose he's just dropped that himself. I mean, he's right off the road and he is out here. And that is a big, big loss, I would say. Jonas Martins not going to be advancing into Q3. We're seeing the first lap times coming on the board. And, of course, these aren't really all that competitive. But Cartalundi, quickest of them all so far. Xander Van Dijk in second. Otmir third. Tarabuk in fourth. Ruben Pedreño in fifth. But these don't hold too much bearing at this point in the session. As Mirko Soriano, the man who just avoided being eliminated in Q1. He now tops this session. I think I'd be a little bit more comfortable for him than his previous position, as Jake Benham once again tops him there. So we're seeing all these lap times coming out with 11 minutes left to go in this session. We already know one driver who is going to be eliminated, and I think it's quite upsetting, I'd say. I think Jonas Martins, he had some great pace early on in this session, and it's sad to see him go this early.
Yeah, was one of the drivers that had only done one run in the first part of... Oh, Liam Parnell losing it on through turn number 3 as well. And we see this a lot on this game with the modern Formula 1 cars, of course. For new 2022, the ground effect regs, the floors are a lot lower. You get yourself stuck on a curb. It is possible, even around this circuit. I've seen it before when I was testing out when I bought the game to try and see where you could get beached. Getting one coming through Ferraggiora and you somehow end up on the inside. It's quite steep around there, and you could end up getting completely stuck, having to reset to track, and then you're going to get a penalty for resetting to track, of course. But yeah, I've not seen so many of the top level drivers make as many mistakes through that turn number 3 as we have seen tonight. Of course, Zaleski making a mistake on one of his runs earlier on. Drake Dempsey goes in towards 5th place. You'll have noticed that all of these times are slower than the cut-off time for Q1 earlier on, just confirming, as Josie Floke goes fastest on a 107.479, then confirming that everyone at the moment is on a used set of tyres. So it will be another few minutes before we see everyone really gunning things on that top lap for their fresh set, trying to see if they can get it towards Q3.
I'd say it's a really handy lap for Joseph Floke, actually, a 107.4, given that it's on a fresh set of the, on a scrub set of the tyres. So I think I'd be quite happy with that one there. Of course, we do talk about the psychological effect of having that green delta when you're on your Q2 runs. If you're improving on your lap and you can see that out the corner of your eye in the top right of your screen, I think it does help you, and it gives you a little bit more confidence to go forward. But we do have a driver on a lap now, Primož Meklavčič. I don't know if this is a scrub set of the tyres or if this is indeed fresh. I guess we can tell just by the confidence in the way that he drives. But he opens up the DRS, headed down the Retroposta, but we'll see a lot of the overtakes in towards turn number 4, braking just in between that 150-metre board, using all the curb on the exit here, and then climbing up towards Ferradura. I really do love this corner. It's a fast right-hander, taking it at 135 miles per hour in 5th gear. It's a really lovely part of the circuit. So much elevation change and leaning into the corners. I really do love this track. And oh dear, Meklavčič spinning off the exit there, unfortunately, and he's going to be cutting some grass there. And he might need to challenge Valtteri Bottas for his service, but that is going to be his lap time in the bin. And I do believe that was a fresh set of the tyres. That is going to put him in a really difficult position headed in towards the last part of Q2.
Yeah, it's so easily done, though, especially at that part of the circuit. Coming through Pinarino, just leaning on the rear tyre a tiny bit too much. Almost caught it, and then it had, sort of went in the other direction. All of a sudden, the tyres did grip, but you're turning the wrong way. You end up spinning in the opposite way. So yeah, big shame for Primož Meklavčič. That could have been our first flying lap in the session, but we didn't really get to see what he could do. But let's see what Mirko Soriano could do then. Only just made it through towards Q1 by, I think it was exactly 1/10 of a second ahead of his teammate Modesto Mena, the Italian driver at the moment. Mirko Soriano 11th in the championship and a 10th up already, confirming that this is on a hot tyre run. That was wide coming out of coming out of turn number 4. He didn't invalidate. He's backed off his lap, and I can't blame him for that whatsoever, because I imagine if others had seen that, he might have protested if that was a good lap.
Yeah, I mean, that was, I thought that I was quite actually surprised to see that he didn't invalidate it there, but he backs off, and fair play to him. I do believe that we have Conor Muir on a lap time at the moment, but I don't believe he is the first one up. I think Xander Van Dyken, unless this is just an outlap and then there's some glitches going on my screen. I think it was indeed. So I do believe that Conor Muir is the first one up coming to the line. He's going to get a nice slipstream from the McLaren, keeping it tight to the left-hand side, but then drifting out wide again to pick up that slipstream. He comes across the line, does a 1 minute 7.224, and I believe that was Jonah Martin's time in Q1. That was enough to see him in P2. So I think Conor Muir got to be pretty pleased about that one.
I think that's going to be there or thereabouts for getting you through to the next part of qualifying. Very good lap there by Conor Muir. Cortolondi comes towards the finish line, can't quite match it. He goes in towards second place on a 107.358. Wouldn't surprise me if we see him having to go out again. The next driver that's coming towards the line is going to be, I think, Jarno Opmeer just setting up for a flying lap at the moment. Luke Smith, though, goes fastest of everyone, and that will be good enough to get you through towards Q3. 107.093 from Luke Smith. He is back with a bang here in WOR. Almost looking like he's never left. Full of confidence at the moment. Ruben Pedreño flying around the circuit. 6 tenths up on his personal best at the moment. Can only imagine he backed off in the final sector then, because he's going to need to find quite a lot of time for this to be a reasonable lap in this qualifying session. We're used to seeing the Spaniard up towards the top of the order, hugs the left-hand side of the circuit. And that is more like it from Ruben Pedreño in towards second place, and his teammate Xander Van Dyken in third as well. I think those three will be very happy with how they've done at the top of the order.
Yeah, and I think that might be enough to see them in towards the next part of qualifying. In terms of our championship contenders at the moment, we've got Jarno Opmeer headed in towards the final sector, up by 0.5 of a second. This will see him around about where Drake Dempsey is. He's just set that lap. Joseph Loke goes into fourth, only 2,000 slower than Xander Van Dyken. His fellow countryman Jarno Opmeer coming up towards the line now as he's sub 10% on the ERS, and it is only 6th position for Jarno Opmeer. 1,000th off of Drake Dempsey, 1,000th ahead of Conor Muir. George's Nade has just come across the line. That's 2 laps on that set of the soft compound attire, and that is P8 for him. Up next is going to be Jake Benham, improving, but not by that much. These Mercedes, they really do struggle on their first runs, as here he comes towards the line. Has he improved enough in that final sector to get himself in a decent position? And indeed he has. 5th place for him, a 107.189. That's a good time, but considering how many drivers we're seeing in a similar position, Luke, I'm not too sure if these times are actually going to be safe.
Yeah, I said Conor Muir might be there or thereabouts on that 107.224. I'd like to retract that statement all of a sudden, because you've got Liam Parnell down there who's not set a valid time whatsoever, in terms of a good time on a fresh set of tyres. Likewise, I think with Mirko Soriano, Primoz Miklavčić has done no time whatsoever, but he is out there on a lap right now. That 107.224 is not looking safe whatsoever. I mean, Jake Benham's not that far ahead of that. Even Xander Van Dyken, he's 51 thousandths ahead of Conor Muir at the moment. How safe is he going to be feeling right now? Because he knows all it needs is drivers to find a few thousandths around every single corner, and he might be in a tiny bit of trouble. So yeah, it's exceedingly close around a circuit that is known for being exceptionally close, given the short nature of it. Primoz Miklavčić now just making his way around Miguelio in towards Youngsal. This might well be his only opportunity in this qualifying session. 4 minutes to go. It is a short lap, and again, just getting on the curb, sliding the rear tyres. And that is not a good place to be doing that. You are losing time all the way down the pit straight. It's not too surprising to see him dive in towards the pit lane.
And this is really not looking good for him, because I believe that's his second fresh set of tyres used in this session. If he has another one, I don't even know how they actually work in terms of the allocation, but I don't know if he's going to have any fresh tyres for Q3, if he is able to get into that session. And that's going to be where it really matters. That will determine his position in this race. So it's not looking good for Primoz at the minute. He might need to just accept defeat and be eliminated in this session, as Andrei Tarabukin is up first. He is in that drop zone as well at the moment. Currently on a 107.425, and in the grand scheme of things, that is not a very good lap time in comparison to. Does not feel safe on his lap as well. That is key to mention. Coming out onto the circuit, despite being on a 107.143 and being second on the timing sheets at the moment, the only driver I feel is actually safe here is Luke Smith.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we've seen this before from Ruben Pedreño. He heads out early on, might not do a lap, might just take it steady and see what lap times everyone else is setting. You know, it's a common feature that we see in Formula 1 as well. Drivers just wanting to be out there. Of course, if you are going to go nice and steady, drifting across the grass through Pinavino is not the best way to be saving your tyres. Just getting a bit hot there on the throttle in the lower 3 gears. We're only really using them, or seeing them being used as a fuel burning gear. They're not useful whatsoever. 4th gear will be the lowest they do on any lap times, as unsurprisingly, Luke Smith retires from the session. Joseph Loke still in the pit lane as well, with 2 minutes remaining. Jarno Opmeer just making his way out of the pit lane, but I think we'll be seeing Loke making his way onto the circuit soon, especially now that Andrei Tarabukin has actually gone purple in Sector 1. The Red Bull driver finding some fantastic time here at the moment, and this might make a few drivers nervous.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they're all out on circuit, aside from Luke Smith and Jonah Martins, who we know is going to be eliminated. I think the last driver that came out onto the track is one of the Mercedes, and that's Jarno Opmeer, so he'll be able to gauge whether he is safe or not, and whether he actually wants to complete the lap that he's on. Andrei Tarabukin in towards Magulio now, and up towards Yun Sao. He's up by only 600ths of a second. This is not going to be good enough in terms of getting out of that bottom 5, but maybe he's going to find it all in that final sector. Is opening up the DRS, headed up towards the line. Can Tarabukin get himself out of that bottom 5 and in towards Q3 for the time being? Yes, it's 107.195. Up next towards the line, I think, is going to be Jarno Opmeer just beginning his lap, but it's one of the Alfa Romeos, and it's going to be Carter Lundy, who is now in that drop zone coming up towards the line. Only P10 for him, not good enough, and that is him out of this session provisionally, because he's not going to be able to set another lap time. Mirko Soriano goes up in towards 7th position. Pedreño secures himself in Q3 with the fastest time of the session. Conor Muir goes in towards P3 ahead of Xander Van Dyken, who is out on circuit at the moment. Up next is going to be Jake Benham, who is in 6th position. Not entirely safe, but not in a bad spot, and he's up by 400ths of a second. Purple in that second sector as well, so up towards the line the young Englishman comes, and where's he going to go? In towards P3, decent enough. Drake Dempsey is up next, but he is down on his previous best time. He's not going to improve, so up next towards the line, Xander Van Dyken in that McLaren goes P2 ahead of Luke Smith, and that is a 1-2 for the McLaren boys. Not anymore though. Joseph Loke tops the order, and that leaves Jarno Opmeer up next in that bottom 5, down on his previous best time. Will we be losing the Flying Dutchman in this session? Yes, we will. By 1,000th of a second, Jarno Opmeer does not get into Q3. That is a big, big loss in terms of his championship hunt, and he's going to be kicking himself at that one.
Yeah, oh! Miklavčić, big slide through Ferrajova, keeps it out of the wall. Throttle 360 there. Again, that Williams looks very loose on the rear end. I think it's being kind to it at the moment. It is sliding around all over the place. Bambi on ice. Those rear tyres, that's again Miklavčić just getting a bit hot on the rear tyres in a place where you don't really see it too much. And spinning the car round. Yeah, Drake Dempsey was down on his personal best. He actually lost it. I think either coming through Migulio or coming through Young Zhao. He was on the inside at the grass there, so he had no chance to, recover from that lap. And obviously, that ruined his run onto the start-finish straight, so couldn't do another lap. But by 1,000th of a second, Drake Dempsey gets away with one there. 107.222. Good enough to get you through the session. And Joseph Lowe, Ruben Pedreño, Xander Van Dyken, your top 3 then. Ruben and Jake, the only championship contenders into the final part of qualifying.
Of course, Thomas Ronhart eliminated in Q1. We've lost Jarno Opmeer in Q2. This is a great opportunity for Pedreño and Benham to really solidify themselves back in this championship hunt. And of Thomas Ronhart at the moment, I'm just going to quickly pull up the standings actually, so I can get the exact gaps to the championship leader. Pedreño is 23 points off of the back of Ronhart. Jake Benham is 29 points. So really, they have to be outscoring Thomas Ronhart for these last 2 races. Given that he's out in Q1, this is going to be a great opportunity for them.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, Jake Benham, he was in a situation where, I think he needed to outscore him tonight. I think Ruben Pedreño, can get away with matching what Ronhart does tonight, but then it's going to be almost impossible. going into the final race. But yeah, Pedreño he finishes in second place. If Jake Benham finishes in fifth, that is really going to spice things up into the championship. Luke fastest, Pedreño second, Van Dijk in third, Smith fourth, Benham fifth. Muir, Tawabuki, Soriano, Nader and Dempsey also making their way through in towards Q2. Jarno Opmeer missing out despite being within 0.162 seconds of the fastest time in that session. Himself, Lundy, Parnell, Miklevicic, who didn't get a clean lap in, and Martins, who crashed early on. Those are the drivers heading out. Quite a dramatic Q2 there, and again, drivers making mistakes.
I know there is a lot of drama going on in WOR, but how about those lap times? We saw the top 6 separated by less than a tenth of a second. Hopefully we can have more action like that in Q3, which is coming up in the next part of this session. It's going to be 12 minutes, the fight for pole position. The top 10 going to be duking it out here, and it's going to be very, very exciting, Luke.
Yeah, it is. Just heading there onto the circuit now. Drivers obviously in towards the pit lane. There's not going to be many. Got too many fresh sets of tyres left. I think Ruben Pedreño is going to have 2 fresh sets of tyres, so he might be able to do something different. Joseph Loke as well, and Connor Muir possibly with 2 fresh sets of tyres. But I think Luke Smith also, he's done a fantastic job. He was the only driver who didn't have to go out again in Q2, so he's got himself that extra fresh set of tyres. Everyone else, it's taken multiple tries to get themselves out in to Q3, so they're all going to be heading out on a used sets of tyres. We might see those drivers mentioned earlier heading out on a used sets of tyres, because being such a short circuit, if the pit crew's on it, which unfortunately they don't do quick pit stops in qualifying, if the pit crew's on it, you can't even get 3 runs in a 12-minute session around here. So that's why we're seeing a few drivers heading out onto the circuit early on. Connor Muir is out there with Joseph Loke following behind him, and Luke Smith's gone out very early on, already partway through the middle sector.
Yep, so Luke Smith going to be the first man out on circuit in Q3. I'm not too sure if he's going to bother with using a scrub set of tyres, given that he's got 2 fresh sets, and you can't really get 3 runs done around this track unless your pit crew is on it, as you said, Luke. But in towards now the final sector, we'll see what he can do as he gets this lap underway. A lot of drivers choosing to stay in the pit lane. We've only seen Connor Muir come out on circuit, and Joseph Loke as well as Luke Smith. I see one of the Alfa Romeos, that's Drake Dempsey. Of course, his teammate Carter Lundy eliminated at the end of Q2. Luke Smith, though, beginning this lap, he's going to have a lot of clear air in front of him, because we've only got a few drivers out on the circuit. We'll see what he can do as he heads now down the down the Retroposter into turn 4.
Yeah, 16.667 in towards turn number 4. Earlier on, WOR YouTube channel predicted a 106.7 for pole position, and I think it might be a 106.8 for pole position, but let us know in the chat what you guys all think is going to be the fastest time in this session. Certainly we're going to get into the 106s with that extra little bit of track evolution, as Luke Smith making his way around the middle sector now. Bico De Pato just swinging that over towards the right hand side of the circuit, and we'll see what he does on this lap. It's looked pretty tasty so far from the esports driver, the young Englishman, of course, preparing for the final esports event. A little bit of a wobble on the curb might only cost him hundredths of a second, but hundredths can be so important. I mean, multiple places here in WOR, but Luke Smith heads towards the finish line. 107.068 is his first time. He'll definitely be hoping for more than that on his second run. Connor Muir dives it straight in towards the pits, and we'll see whether Joseph Loke follows or whether he is going to finish his lap. Loke towards the line. 107.083, so extremely close at the top at the moment. I think everyone else who's heading out there probably going to be on a used set of tyres.
Yeah, absolutely. Andrei Tarabukin's just begun on a lap. Drake Dempsey is in the second sector. Georges Nader and Soriano just about to begin on their lap. So it's going to be the American Alfa Romeo driver next up to complete a lap, and we'll see what his second sector time is. 51.1. I don't believe that is too competitive, so I think this is going to be a scrub set of tyres fitted. That Alfa Romeo car has now headed down the start-finish straight, opening up the DRS and coming across the line now. We'll see what he can do. Where's he going to be in comparison to his rivals? And yeah, it's not going to be the most competitive time in the world, but you expect that from a scrub set of tyre. Up next will be Andrei Tarabukin, but unfortunately he's invalidated his first attempt, and that first sector didn't look too bad for him, so I think he's going to be kicking himself back that one. 50.8 in the second sector, and we're not too sure if he's actually been pushing on that attempt I don't think he'll be too pleased, but we'll see what he can do. I think he'll just dive it back into the pit lane here. I don't expect him to complete this lap, but I'd like to be proven wrong as he comes up towards the line in a valid time of a 107.402. Not anything competitive, but if that's on a scrub set of tyre, I'd say he'd be pretty pleased with that.
Yeah, very handy time there from Tawabukin, who seems to have liked going out of sync for everyone else in the final laps of the session. He seems to have enjoyed giving himself enough time to get 2 runs in if he so chooses. George Nader, 3rd place at the moment, fastest legit time we've seen on a used set of tyres. We're going to be seeing Van Dijken and Pedreño coming towards the line soon, and I'm interested to see what Pedreño can do at the moment. 2nd place, of course, in the last part of qualifying. 107.0 from Smith and Loke. I think there's potential for 106 on this lap, so should be fascinating to see what Pedreño can do. Sector 1 time, he's already half a tenth up on Luke Smith, so this is looking pretty good at the moment, but it's Sector 2, of course, which is the most important one in terms of qualifying.
Yeah, purple through that first sector, but we do all know that Q2 Sector 2 can make or break your lap as he heads in towards SA now and up towards Pinarino, the downhill left-hander, which then swoops up in towards Pico de Pato. We'll see what he can do as in towards now the final sector almost. He's looking confident on this lap. He's really just guiding the car into every corner so nicely, and it's a 50.5 in the first and second sector times combined, as now out of Junsao, flat out through here in towards the start finish straight, opening up the DRS. Where is Ruben Pedreño going to go with this lap time? Can we see the first 1 minute 6? Not quite. It's a 107.015. Decent enough lap time from Ruben Pedreño, but I would like a little bit more from him.
Yeah, I think there's going to be some improvements, big improvements to be found on the final run. Xander Van Dijken, he's invalidated, but he is carrying on just to get that delta time on the board. It isn't going to be anything remotely representative. Conor Muir getting himself in and around what we were seeing from Pedreño, Smith and Loke earlier on, so this might be another 107, making it extremely hard to call who is going to get pole position in this session. With 5 minutes 40 seconds remaining, Conor Muir, the Irishman, heads towards the line, drifts over to the right-hand side of the track, and that is 4th place for him. I think if it had stayed to the left there, might not have challenged Pedreño. Certainly could have got in and around Smith and Loke though, but a 107.096 for Conor Muir puts him in 4th place for now, and that is going to be the last of the fresh tyre runs in this part of Q3, I believe. I think everyone else, including Jake Benham, will be out on a scrubbed set, but in the final 5 minutes, there's only one thing they're going to be thinking about. Fresh set of tyres, who is going to get pole position, and the time's not improving in this session at the moment as much as I think we expected.
Yeah, I don't think everyone's going to be pushing as much as they would be at the end of the session at this point, so we're about 5 minutes away from really seeing everyone's true pace coming out as Xander Van Dijken is next up to cross the line, but I don't believe that this is on a fresh set of the tyres. We'll see what he can do anyways. Wow, I've been proven wrong. It's a 107.034 on a 2-lap old set of tyres. So we've done 1 run on that set, didn't like it, and he's gone again. Luke Smith comes out on a fresh set of the tyres, and that's the first 1 minute 6 on the board, a 1 minute 6.944. He's just about sneaking under that margin, and I wonder how many other drivers are going to be matching times like that. We've got just over 4 minutes left to go in this session. We are approaching what Chris Buxton likes to call qualifying.
Yeah, we're hitting that banzai phase now, and I think Luke Smith's done that because he had an extra set of soft tyres compared to everyone else. He was the only driver to do 1 run in Q1 and 1 run in Q2, and he's got enough time to get back into the pits and head out once more. So he is fastest at the moment, 71 thousandths of a second. He's not gone crazily early than everyone else, and he's going to miss the best of the track conditions. He'll be heading out once more for that final run in qualifying. Van Dijken, you've got to feel, has got some fantastic pace from him. If he can get it done on a fresh set of tyres first time around, he's got to be there or thereabouts. Just running out of fuel towards the end of the start-finish straight, but he's into back to the pit lane, so he's not going to be too fussed about that at the moment. And it is pretty quiet out on track. Andre Tarabukin again, just heading out there. Only driver yet to set a time. So I suppose in a way he's not got nothing to lose on this lap. You know, goes all out. If it goes wrong, he's going to be starting in 10th place anyway. So might as well just push and see what could happen.
Yeah, Andre Tarabukin left it very late in Q2. He was one of the only drivers in that bottom 5 originally that was actually able to improve and get himself out of that drop zone and convincingly into Q3. So I think Tarabukin, he does like to leave it a little bit late, and he's got the entire track to himself. Mirko Soriano, I can see on the mini-map, is just peeling out of the pit lane now. So drivers are finally coming out for their last runs. One of the McLarens as well. I think those are the key ones to watch. The two McLarens, the Mercedes and the Alpine. I think those three are going to be the main ones to watch. Maybe the Haas car of Georges Nader. He's been quite quiet in qualifying so far. Of course, topping Q1 though. We haven't seen too much of the Lebanese driver as Andrei Tarabukin now heads out of the final corners. He's going to be beginning his final run in qualifying, his first run in Q3, and we'll see what he can do as he begins his lap.
Yeah, what can Tarabukin do then in what is probably going to be his final run in this qualifying session? Should expect it to go, above Nader, Soriano and Dempsey, and probably ahead of Jake Benham with this lap time, but we'll be seeing them on a fresh set of tyres as well as Tarabukin makes his way towards the Sector 1 split point. 16.579. That is his first 16.5 we've seen on screen in this lap. We didn't see what Luke Smith did on his lap, but that is looking like a stonking lap time so far from Andrei Tarabukin in towards Ferrajora, taking that curve nice and steady, and then in towards the only part of the circuit without any name at that corner, in towards Pinavino. Now getting nice and steady. A lot of drivers having a little bit of a wobble out there, and Tarabukin no exception to that. And now it is just full focus through Magulio. Make sure you don't get too greedy into Young Sao. Anytime you gain by braking late on the way in, you might lose by compromising your line on the way out. He's going to get a very distant tow from that McLaren ahead of him, but shouldn't really make too much of a difference to his lap time. Andrei Tarabukin towards the line. Can this be good enough for pole position? Not at the moment. Tarabukin, though, puts himself in 4th place. That just shows there's plenty of time to be found out there.
It's a respectable enough lap, I'd say, from Andrei Tarabukin. Conor Mule's just beginning on his lap, but up next towards the line will be Soriano. He's backed off, however, on this lap, which means it is going to be the McLaren of Ruben Pedreño, unless Georges Nader is on a lap. I don't believe he is at the moment, so we need to watch for
Nader
the young...
is on a lap. Sorry,
Nader is on a lap.
Nader is on a lap. He's 4 tenths up.
Oh, wow.
Sector 2.
Okay, Georges Nader, he's caught me off guard there. I didn't realise he was on a timed run, opening up the DRS and headed up towards the line. Is this going to be enough for provisional pole position for Georges Nader? It's going to be P4 for the time being, 1,000th ahead of Andrei Tarabukin. Pedreño on a cooldown lap. He's going to come across the line to start his run now. Joseph Loke invalid. Is he going to make it to the line? I'm not too sure if he can. Van Dijken certainly will not be, so neither of them are going to be able to start their final run. Peeling back into the pit lane is Van Dijken. Joseph Loke isn't able to make it, which leaves Conor Muir up next, but he is also invalidated on this lap. Tarabukin, of course, not pushing. Drake Dempsey is going to come up towards the line next, and where is he going to take his Alfa Romeo? Currently in 10th position. It's top 4 and a second row start provisionally for him. Good enough, I would say. Luke Smith to the line, and that's a 1 minute 6.819. Jake Benham joins him on the front row for the time being with a 1 minute 6.920. Mirko Soriano is going to be up next towards the line, and he's purple through Sector 2. He's up by 0.3 of a second on his lap at the moment. It's not going to be the best improvement, but where is he going to go? He's in towards P8, which leaves, I believe, next Ruben Pedreño, who is down on his time, which means he is not going to be improving. No one else is on a flying lap. It's Luke Smith on pole position here.
Yeah, fantastic lap by Luke Smith. And also, the only other man to get in towards the 106ers, Jake Benham, who came close to getting knocked out in Q1, even at Q2 at one bit. Looks as though he was knocking out, but the man who's still in the championship hunt, 2nd place on the grid, lead one of the title contenders. It's going to be a fascinating race. I'm sure you agree, Dan. But those are your top 10 on screen right there. Smith on pole position, Jake Benham alongside him, Ruben Pedreño in 3rd. Well, let's not forget, Jarno Opmeer starting 11th, and Thomas Ronhaar starting in 19th.
Yeah, that means that the likes of Jake Benham, Ruben Pedreño, who are distant runners in this championship fight at the moment, they're going to be in a great position to claw back some of those points that they've lost over the course of this season. That brings us to the end of the qualifying phase, and we are now headed into the 36 lap race around this Interlagos circuit, one of my favorites on the Formula 1 calendar. I'm seeing drivers are leaving the session. We might have a restart in about. I'm just going to quickly check the tier 1 chat in the Discord. I don't believe so. I don't think we're having a restart, so I think Xander Van Dyken has unfortunately just left the session there.
Yeah, hopefully he's able to get back in as quickly as possible. Yeah, I was wondering. It has taken a bit of a while to get between qualifying and the race, but we're just waiting to see what has happened here. Let's take a look at the track then. The Automoto Carlos Dospache, first used in 1973. Emerson Fittipaldi winning the first race here. 2 DRS zones, and it is looking, well, I'll tell you now, it is looking very overcast at the moment. We don't know what it's going to be like when it comes to the race. We don't know what it's going to be like if we end up having a restart. But yeah, looking decidedly cloudy out there. So big possibility that we're going to get some rain.
Yeah, it's a little bit worrying. Up ahead, if we do get some rain, it doesn't look like there's any wet patches on the circuit at the minute, but maybe later down the line. I'm seeing that the boss man himself, Luke Humphreys, in the live chat, not in the live chat, in the tier 1 chat, saying that we're not doing a restart for just one person, but they're not going to start until he's here. Hopefully everyone gets that message and doesn't ready up too early. But there it is, he's back in the session. His game, unfortunately, just crashed at the end of qualifying. But we're about to head into the race. I don't believe we have a formation lap. So, Luke, the question to you, who's winning this race today?
I just think Luke Smith looks fantastically good at the moment. I know it's the boring choice from pole position, but he's looked very good in all 3 qualifying sessions. If it does rain, though, you know, could be a coin flip between 20 of them. You know, roll the old D&D dice, see which number comes up, and that's what grid slot might end up winning this race, because just calling the strategy right, as Christian said in the chat, rain is certainly going to spice things up here. We've said already how quickly things can change. If you pass the pit lane, and then 10 seconds later it's wet enough for intermediate tyres, and you're out there on the slicks, you are going to lose absolutely chunks of time. This is going to be a fascinating race. Cannot wait.
Absolutely, and we're about to get underway here as the drivers all readied up and they've locked in their strategies. It's going to be Luke Smith leading from Jake Benham. We have 5 red lights here in Interlagos. And we are underway for the Sao Paulo Grand Prix, and it looks to be a good start from Jake Benham, headed down in towards the first corner. He's going to challenge to the inside of Luke Smith and take that position as they head in towards the first corner. A little bit of ghosting further back behind. Xander Van Dyke has not been able to get into his car just yet, as we got some contact further back behind. That's McClavchich and Yona Martins having some contact as down in towards turn number 4. Luke Smith trying to look back towards the outside of Jake Benham. Benham holds him off, and he manages to hold on to that lead off the line. He is now your P1 runner, but Luke Smith in towards Ferradura, looking to the outside. That's a bold and ambitious move from the young Englishman in the Alpine, and he has to back out of that one there. So at the end of the first sector and in towards sector 2, Jake Benham leading from Luke Smith, Drake Dempsey in 3rd, Georges Nader in 4th. What's happened to Rum Pedreño? He's all the way down into 6th. This is the worst possible start for McLaren. Joseph Loke looking to the inside of Andrei Tarabukin, but Luke, as they come towards the end of the first lap, this has been a very scrappy one.
It has indeed, and I think we've had it just confirmed here. Look at the tyres everyone is on. We're seeing softs and mediums. Thomas Ronhaar fighting his way up the order. He's got himself up in towards 15th, and yeah, I think it is already raining out there on the circuit already. We have got some rain around here, and we're seeing there Joseph Lowe dives his way in towards the pit lane. Whether that is for damage, we saw all sorts of chaos going earlier on with 2 Aston Martins going side by side. That is Manuel Biancalila on his soft tyres down the inside of Harlan Marquis. He takes 16th place. Yeah, I think we have already got rain. Joseph Lowe's gone for a set of intermediates now. I said it can get wet early around here. That is a bold call. If he pulls it off, he's looking like a genius. If he doesn't, he's going to be in last.
Yeah, didn't mean this early, and I certainly think it's not going to be wet enough for the intermediate tyres, but if the rain comes quick enough and fast enough, that means there's going to be a lot of action down in the pit lane early. Modesto Mena and Andrei Tarabukin having a scrap for P7. Andrei Tarabukin's been in the wars already as he's sliding out of Pinarino. Has to concede the position to Modesto Mena, who's had a brilliant start in this race. And is that lag on my side of things, or is that Andrei Tarabukin really struggling in the wet weather conditions? He's gone all the way off the circuit in towards the grass, and already I think they're going to have to pit at the end of lap number 2. It just looks so wet here as Drake Dempsey trying to challenge for P2, and there it is, all of the drivers coming into the pit lane.
Yeah, so if you're the first one of your team, as Drake Dempsey tries to get a bit of a sneak on them, it's Modesto Mena, I think because he was the second one in the team, decided to stay out there all of a sudden. So Mena, Lundy, Jarno Opmia Thomas Ronhaar, Manuel Biancalila and Liam Parnell have decided to stay out there on the circuit. And we have got the effective top two in the championship, running Linus Stern at the moment in 3rd and 4th place. Ronhaar on the softs, Uppbeat on the mediums. We've got a yellow flag further back. That is Primoz Miklopčić, who's had some trouble in all of this. Joseph Lowe, I think, he's lost a couple of places from pitting early, but hasn't lost too much. And he knows where the grip is at the moment in these track conditions. Everyone else has just got to get used to how the tyres are feeling. And Jake Benham effectively in the lead of this race. We're going to keep the gap to the leader. And you can see it is coming down at the moment. So that was the lap to come into the pits. I don't think the 6 that have stayed out, though, are going to lose too much.
No, it shouldn't be too awful for them. I do feel for the likes Carter Lundy, Jarno Opmeer, Thomas Ronhaar, the ones that couldn't come into the pit lane because of their teammates, so they'd be double stacking, of course, and that is something that you just do not want to do. You'll lose a lot more time double stacking in these interchangeable conditions than you would staying out the extra lap. So I'd imagine we're going to see the likes of Modesto Mena, Carter Lundy, Jarno Opmeer, all of them coming into the pit lane, strapping on a pair of the intermediates. Jake Benham's gained about 3 seconds on Liam Parnell in this lap, and oh dear, both of them, Manuel Biancalila and Liam Parnell, struggling to get the car stopped, and the pair of them have 5-second time penalties added to their race time. That leaves Jake Benham to take the lead of this Grand Prix on lap number 4 already. We're not even going to see any DRS action at all, but in the space of just a few minutes here, Luke, the track has gone from bone dry to soaking wet.
Yeah, I was about to say, we haven't seen it say DRS deactivated, but of course, it was already too wet by the time they could have had it activated at the end of lap number 2. There are some rumours going around that next season we might see DRS being able to be activated from the start of lap number 2, but we'll wait and see what the FIA decide on that one. Yeah, this is going to make it very tough indeed now to overtake. Everyone, as you can see, basically on the same tyres, just with Loke and Miklopčić having slightly older than the majority of the field. Mena, Lundy, Opmeer, Ronhaar, Biancalila having slightly older than the majority. Slightly newer, I should say, than the majority of the field. Everyone else on 1 lap old tyres. It is going to be quite tough to overtake at the moment. It's going to be interesting to see what tactics anyone do. It's going to be interesting to see if the rain gets any heavier as well, whether we need to get towards the full wet tyres. If it stays at this intensity, I think we are going to have to see everyone coming to the pits for another set of intermediate tyres later on in this session. Of course, the intermediates don't really, you have seen drivers do into slicks before. That is a possibility, but I think it is going to be a bit too tough around here, and you might just lose too much tyre life. Jarno Opmeer all over the back of Antoine de Zaleski at the moment, just on the run down towards the centre S's, trying to move down the inside, and in fact, it's de Zaleski with a very late move down the inside there of Harlan Marquis. Brilliant racing from the Frenchman, great from Marquis that he saw one coming. And the Alpine driver is up into 11, but I think things are going to get worse for Marquis. At the moment, you've got Ronhaar trying to find a gap in all of this as well. Down the inside goes the Flying Dutchman. And that is Jarno Opmeer almost in towards 12th place. Marquis fighting for all his worth here. Thomas Ronhaar's got a brilliant view of all this and finds himself boxed in. So that's de Zaleski into 11, Opmeer into 12, and that is Ronhaar. As Miklopčić retires from the session, that is Ronhaar trying to go alongside Marquis. Still not able to find a move, and that is the safety car.
Safety car coming out for Primoz Miklopčić, having a spin. Well, looking on the minimap, he looks so far down the straight that I don't know how that could be a crash out of the Curva do Sol. So, I mean, that's a little bit of an interesting one there. I wonder if he crashed out on purpose, but I don't want to throw any accusations at this point in time. What we do know at the moment is the safety car has been brought out, which is effectively just going to put a stop to the race. It puts a pin in all the action, gives us a chance to calm down for a moment here and sort of just gather in what has happened. I want to look at who's gained the most places, and despite pitting later than everyone else, Modesto Mena and Antoine de Zaleski, to be fair, both of them up 7 places so far in this race. They've had fantastic getaways in this one.
Yeah, they had I think earlier on it was on 9 places for Modesto Mena. He had an absolutely stonking start on that set of tyres. Xander Van Dijken has been able to rejoin, which is great to see. Now, Liam Parnell, you might be wondering, why is he coming into the pits already? You are allowed on the game to serve your 5-second penalty under a safety car, and as he was in last place, he's not going to lose anything in track position, so he has served that penalty. Wouldn't surprise me if Manuel Biancalila also comes into the pits. He would lose a few places, but I think it might be better off doing it now under the safety car, and then he has got the chance of obviously regaining that later on. Unfortunately, as we didn't pick the Miklevchich crash up on stream, we won't be able to see it. But yeah, it was a bit strange place to lose it. I wonder if he's just been trying to save the car coming out of turn number 3, and then it's just gone quite later on in the straight, because all the way through qualifying, it was a very nervous rear end on that Williams, and I don't think this wet weather would have helped that one bit.
Absolutely. I mean, there's only been 6 laps in this race. Coming up toward, that we're about to complete the 6th lap. We still have 30, just over that, left to go. There's plenty of action still left to be had. Given that Liam Parnell is quite far off the back of the train, it means we won't get going for a few more laps. I mean, there's mandatory 2 laps under the safety car, but if Liam Parnell doesn't catch up in time, we might go for an extra run. We're seeing Xander Van Dyken rejoining. I'm in a group chat with him on Twitter, and I've got it up on my second monitor here, and he says, this game, man, let me get my car. So for some reason, the game's just not letting him get in the car. Normally, if you lag out or you have a game crash and you're able to rejoin in the spectator menu, you can take control of the AI car that has been assigned to you. For some reason, Xander Van Dyken can't access that, and unfortunately, it looks like his day is over. And after such a strong qualifying, to have that game crash, it is really unfortunate, and we know that he's not been able to finish any races this season. But this one, I feel really bad for him.
Yeah, it's just, completely something out of his control. We don't have reliability failures in league racing. The closest we come are really issues with the game, or issues with your computer, or issues with the connection, and some combination of all that. Xander Van Dyken kicked him out. I know sometimes it is a bit funny if you join between qualifying and the race. It can cause a few problems, but yeah, such a shame for Van Dyken down there in 17th, but effectively out of this race as well. Miklevchich being the only official retirement. I was just looking at Georges Day today. He was really lighting up the rear tyres and, burning quite a lot of fuel on this, despite having the red fuel light on. You shouldn't use too much fuel in the rain. Of course, you are going to have to be a bit more gentle on acceleration and a bit more gentle through all of the corners. We are going to be going back to green flag soon. Jake Benham leads the pack away, and it is a long, long run down towards turn number 1. You normally see the drivers go as late as possible, and I see no reason to think why that's going to be any different now.
Yeah, so he's probably going to go right up towards the line, and as soon as he crossed that start-finish line, Luke Smith is able to attack him. But if he went now, then Luke would be able to just follow in his wheel tracks, use some of the slipstream, and then get by. And you can see how Luke Smith, if you ride on board with him, he's just so eager to get going. I think Jake Benham's caught him a bit napping here. Now Drake Dempsey is on the back of the Alpine, headed in towards the first corner. Can he go around the outside? And I believe that he can. There's going to be so close to contact between the pair of them. Luke Smith leaves the room on the inside for the Alfa Romeo, cuts the Curva del Sol, and now comes back onto the circuit in quite a poor location. I think he's going to let Drake Dempsey by. Try not to defend this one too much as he actually holds towards the inside, braking later than Drake, and now trying to get the switchback on the exit here. Drake Dempsey all over the back of Luke Smith. Can he finally secure this move? They head up towards Ferragura. They're going to be wheel to wheel. Georges Nader trying to stick his nose in here as Drake Dempsey around the outside trying to hold it. Contact between the pair of them. They're both off the circuit, and they've come to blows. Georges Nader says thank you very much, slips on through. Mirko Soriano and Joseph Loke are going to be able to get ahead of Drake Dempsey, who's going to be absolutely fuming at Luke Smith going off the circuit at Curva del Sol, keeping the position and then having all that scrap up towards Ferragura. I mean, it's a little bit frustrating to see that they can't keep it a little bit cleaner than that one, I'd say.
Yeah, I was about to say, when they managed to give each other space with the centre S, Verstappen and Hamilton, that's how it's done. For the rest of the lap, yeah, I'm not so quite sure about that one. Pireno now gets ahead of Loke. Jarno Opmy has got himself up into 9th place, and Monhart up into 12th all of a sudden with all of that. So they've gained 3 places after the safety car. And you can just see all the slipstreaming and all the chaos that is happening out in front there. Joseph Loke trying to go round the outside of Ruben Pedreño. Again, he's got his car alongside, enough space being given, but can't quite hold on through Curva del Sol, and that's going to give Conor Muir an opportunity perhaps to get a slipstream. The big winner from all of this battling, Jake Benham, is now 2.5 seconds clear at the front of the field. Christmas has come 4 weeks early for the young Englishman, as that is Conor Muir down the inside of Loke, too deep in towards Destino de Largo there from Loke. He has lost not 1 but 2 positions as Jarno Opmy also works his way through. Opmy and Ronhaar showing their class at the moment, 8th and 11th, the pair of them, and Ronhaar very close to getting ahead of Modesto Maynard.
proper Formula NASCAR going on here. They're 2x2x2 Noah's Ark style, about 3 or 4 rows deep here, and they're doing this throughout the entire lap. Who knew wet weather would give such good racing in Interlagos? They head through Magulio, still side by side, 3 rows deep. Joseph Loke and Jan Ortmeier having their moments. Thomas Ronhar's gone way off the circuit there. I think he's been forced wide by Modesto Maida, and I think eventually that had to happen, as now there's still all this crazy battling going on further back behind. Thomas Ronhar under pressure from Modesto Maida, who is they're going to run wheel to wheel and towards the first corner here. I think Thomas Ronhar is just about going to be able to edge him in towards turn number 1. The center S is here. Modesto Maida is the man that comes out on top. Anton Tesaliski trying to stick a nose in here. Jona Martins, who had a spin and on the first corner on the first lap, he's now back in the fight with Cartelundi as well. And Luke on lap number 10, we are being treated here today.
Yeah, we are. Zaleski down the inside of Thomas Ronhar then. Can't quite make that one work. You were quite right, Dan. You saw Ronhar going off track. Just got a slide on through Magulio completely innocently and just tapped the side of Thomas Ronhar, who had to head off the circuit. So such a shame for him, and that has really just balked his progress slightly. At the moment, Jake Benham now 3 seconds ahead at the start of the field, so he can maybe now get into more of a management phase if he does want to get those tyres towards the end of the race. Those couple of laps under the safety car will have certainly helped him if he wants to do that with that 3.1 second lead. And for his championship chances, he really needed a big points advantage over Thomas Ronhar tonight. He's on for the full 25 at the moment, is Benham. Ronhar getting none. Jana Watmere only getting 4. Rupert Pedreño only getting 8 as things stand at the moment. But I think Watmere going to be making a move soon. All over the back of Conor Muir as they come on towards lap number 11. Jarno using his ERS. Cuts towards the inside. Bit later on the brakes. Conor Muir's going to fight this one for all he's worth though. On the inside line, Jana Watmere tries to cut back on the exit of Curva de Sol all the way. Round the outside, superb driving. Jarno Watmere, take a bow. He's not won 2 esports titles for no reason there, showing superb intelligence. And that is Jarno Watmere into 7th.
Yeah, that is the Jarno Watmere that we are used to seeing. That was an incredible move around the outside of Conor Muir in the Curva del Sol, and I knew that was going to happen from the moment that he backed out of the second part of the center S, as he was going to get the better run than Conor Muir, who was going to run deep and through the corner, use the momentum around the outside of Curva del Sol, and he really did conduct that perfectly. I mean, that was a really incredible move. I would love to watch that again later on at the end of the stream. Meanwhile, at the front of the order, Jarno Watmere's teammate Jake Benham, 3.5 seconds now ahead of Georges Nader. He's got plenty of battery as well. He's got 78%, as does Georges Nader, to be fair to him. So, yeah, Benham's doing a great job of managing this race, and it's the perfect result for him at the moment. Currently, he's 29 points off the back of Thomas Ronhar in the championship. If he were to take 25 today and then Thomas Ronhar not receive any, he would be only 4 points back, headed in towards Abu Dhabi. However, Thomas Ronhar is not going to take this one lying down, as he's now trying to challenge Modesto Maida through the Curva del Sol. Have to look to the outside. He's now pretty much bumping him through the corner, using the slipstream in the wheel tracks, looking to the outside line in towards the Cida de Lago. Can he go later on the brakes around the outside here? Little bit of contact between the pair of them. Modesto Maida didn't leave him the room on the outside. Antoine Desaluski's going to slip on through. Maida losing 2 spots in this one. Thomas Ronhar now gets a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings, as Desaluski around the outside at Ferradura. Can he hold this one, or is Thomas Ronhar going to have the inside line for the next right-hander and hold him off? However, it's going to swing back the way of Desaluski in towards Pinarino. Once again, we're seeing this side-by-side action. Slight slide for Ronhar in towards Bica de Pato now, and this is incredible racing between the pair of them, as now Ronhar is looking towards the outside in towards Magulio. I think finally Desaluski has secured that move. Once again, Luke, a very respectful battle, as there it is, Ronhar back up the inside.
Yeah, just, Desaluski a bit too deep into Magulio, and Ronhar did the switch back, managed to get the position, but he's lost 2.6 seconds to Logan all of that, and got a penalty, and Desaluski's just said, you know what, I'll just freeze past you on the run down towards turn number 1. All that effort, spectacular to watch, but he's gained him absolutely nothing at the moment. Desaluski goes a bit deep in towards turn number 1. So we're basically in the exact same position that we were a lap ago, and they're costing themselves time. And Ronhar's got himself a penalty, and I don't think he's going to be able to get that one removed. Tried around the outside on the last lap. On this occasion, he just stays behind for now, possibly into Ferradura, thinking about a move, not gone alongside. things may just calm down ever so slightly between these drivers. But yeah, the old Season 10 title rivals are certainly some no love lost between them at the moment. They are fighting tooth and nail. And we said this could happen. We said some of these newer drivers might end up having a bit of a say in the championship battle. They're fighting for position at the moment. They're entitled to fight for this.
Absolutely, and I think it's incredible to see. Anton Desilewski, Conor Muir, these are drivers that we don't typically see in league racing much anymore. I mean, I've hardly seen them in the likes of PSGL and WOR in recent months. So for them to come back and still be this... See, Thomas Ronhaar probably having the worst race of his season so far. I mean, the Netherlands wasn't great. Only got 1 point in that one, but he is not having a good time this evening, because even if he does get by on Desilewski and be able to clear him by a decent enough margin, it's going to be really difficult for him to catch up to the back of Joseph Loke. The gap is almost 2.5 seconds. At the moment, he still has to fight and try and get by this Alpine driver who is just not taking no for an answer. He really does want to hold on to this 10th position, and I really do respect it. This isn't even the fight for the win, and they're still going hammer and tong and hell for leather throughout the entirety of it. And the best part of this, Luke, is we're not even halfway through the race.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you say, oh, wet races aren't as entertaining because it's just a bit more awkward for the drivers. They usually put a bit more front wing on, so dirty air becomes more of a factor. This has been absolutely incredible so far. And like you said, we've only had 13 laps. We're just over a third of the way through this race. Who knows what else we've got? Have we got more weather changes to come in towards play here? It's going to be a very dramatic Brazilian Grand Prix. Out in front, it is still Jake Benham, 4.2 seconds. Now that lead, as you can see, the state of everyone's tyres at the moment. No major differences and no major tyre worries, I think, for everyone. George Nader has been able to get away from Luke Smith all of a sudden, so things calming down at the front of the field, and it looks like things are just starting to calm down in this battle as well. I think with a low amount of DRS that Thomas Ronhaar had, just saving it over the next couple of laps, trying to save a bit of DRS, and then really go for another assault on Antoine Desilewski, and then he'll be hoping that Desilewski holds up the rest of the pack like he's held him up.
Absolutely, and well, up ahead, it seems like Joseph Loke is going to have a scrap with Conor Muir, and if they start fighting, that could maybe open the door of opportunity for the likes of Desilewski and Ronhaar and Maynard to catch up and try and scrap. And I'd love to see Modesto Maynard doing well. It'd be a great day for Spain. I've just looked at the World Cup scores. Currently 1-0 to Spain at the minute, so Germany seemingly in the mud at the moment. Lap number 15 of 36. Jake Benham still stretching that advantage to Georges Nader. Neither of them using any of the ERS. Luke Smith has had to do quite a lot to try and keep up with George, and it's a real shame, I'd say, for Luke Smith that his race has turned out this way. He had the supreme pace and the drive was the quickest man in qualifying, was on pole position, but it seems like in the wet he is just struggling for pace. Can't really keep up with Nader at this point in time. As they head on towards lap number 16, we're nearing the halfway point of this Grand Prix. We'll just have to wait and see who is the next one to start having a scrap. I think Joseph Loke is getting close to the rear of Conor Muir, and he's looking up the inside in towards turn number 1. Muir might run deep through the second part of the Center S's in towards Curva del Sol. Can Joseph Loke use any of his resources? He's only got 8% in the battery, so I don't believe he's going to be able to close the gap enough to try and overtake Conor Muir. But in towards turn number 1, he's just letting him know he's there.
Yeah, it was a long way back, and fair play to Muir. He saw him coming, gave him space, but I think he knew he didn't have to defend too hard. It has just, though, allowed Desilewski and Ronhaar to get further ahead. Wow, Joseph Loke there, getting the move done. I think Muir realised wasn't really fighting that one, and this might just be where you start seeing those drivers who haven't put as much practice in. They've got the pace, they just might not have the consistency of some of the others, and that has freed up Joseph Loke. He is in 8th place at the moment, and he's going to see if he can get onto the back of what is a train for second place, really. Nader, Smith, Soriano, Dempsey, Pedreño and Otmia at the moment. Desilewski's catching up to the back of Muir now. I think we saw Manuel Biancalila and Andrei Tababukin swap places as well. The rain's still coming down quite hard at the moment. Someone asked in the chat, is it going to dry? I don't believe it is, with the way things are looking at the moment. We don't know what's going to happen with the weather. Who knows whether it's going to get wet enough for wet tyres. Who knows whether everyone going to be able to stay on this same set of intermediates. But Jake Benham, he's just hoping not a lot changes at the moment. 4.5 seconds cruising around at the front of the field for what would be only his second race win of the season.
Oh, Jake Benham in a championship hunt. He has not won since round number 7 in Italy. He's done races quite sporadically. This will actually be his first podium since then. He's been in like top 4, top 5 in races in recent weeks, such as USA and Japan, which has been able to keep him in the championship hunt. And yeah, he's not been on the podium since round number 7 of this season. That, of course, was his win, so I'd love to see Jake Benham back in this interview room and we can have another chat with him. But in towards now the final sector, he is really just cruising along this race. And I'm noticing on the telemetry, he's got the blue screwdriver and spanner there. I wonder if that is a call for him to maybe come into the pit lane and change a set of tyres. I don't know the longevity that the intermediates actually do have. I remember it somewhat being around like the medium tyres. They can't go towards the end, so I think we might have to see drivers head into the pits.
I've seen drivers go quite a long way on the intermediate tyres around here, like heading towards that 30 lap point, and it's almost as fast. In fact, it might be slightly faster depending on how well you can manage the tyres as coming into the pits for a fresh set and just driving hell for level all the time. Jake Benham doesn't have to. He's in the lead of this race now. He might be able to save a bit of tyres. He's not had to do as much battling. I saw Thomas Ronhar. He's also got the spanner showing. Jarno Opmeer, who we're looking at the moment on the back of Ruben Pedreño. Two drivers, only 6 points between them in the championship as things stood coming into this race. Ooh. So big possibility here that this could have big repercussions for the championship. Who knows what they're going to do? We're hearing Xbox did 30 laps on them. It's with the safety car, it's going to be close. Would not surprise me if one or two drivers do start to get a puncture. And I think there will be a few, maybe some who are stuck in a train might just think, you know what, let's have a bit of fun. If you're outside the points, come into the pits, see how fast you can go, and you might just get lucky by the end of the race. But Jake Benham, I think he'll be staying out as long as he can get away with.
Absolutely, and he's got a big buffer to the likes of Nader and Smith behind him. And if you notice, there's an Aston Martin car in the pit lane. It's Harlan Marquez. He's fitted a set of the wet tyres, and this will be an interesting way to see how his pace is actually looking. I mean, he is currently on the back of Xander Van Dyken's AI car, so it's not going to be a real representation of pace. And given that he's sort of staying around the same deficit, I think that the wet tyres are not the choice to be on at the moment. I think that'll be a useful piece of information for the engineers that might be in a Discord call with their drivers. But on lap number 19, we've just crossed the halfway point. Jake Benham still leading from George Nader. Luke Smith in third position, and then Mirko Soriano in fourth. I've quickly got to step away from my computer screen at the moment, but I will be back in just 1 minute, Luke.
Yeah, just looking at the gap there with Harlan Marquez, he's lost about half a second since we noticed him being on the wet tyre, so he's not losing too much at the moment, and it might just give him a bit more confidence around here. And who knows, if the rain gets heavier, it might end up being the tyre that you want to be on. Luke Smith dropped a bit further back from George Nader, but someone who has dropped back is Mirko Soriano. All of a sudden, he's got Drake Dempsey on the back of him. Let's not forget, Dempsey was in a podium place earlier on until he had that little bit of a battle with Luke Smith and ended up coming off worse out of that one. And Dempsey just dropping back, just losing a bit of time in all of this. And in fact, this could be interesting. Nader, Smith, Dempsey, all into the pits. Is this going to be for a set of the full wet tyres, or are they going to change their tyres and go for intermediates? Just trying to see what they are. They're definitely intermediates there, going on the Alpine car. Full wet tyres going on Drake Dempsey's car. So the first one of the leaders to go for something completely different in this session. And I do not think, looking at the times of Harlan Marquez at the moment, I do not think that is the right idea. If you're Jake Benham, you're 8 seconds clear at the moment. You can just afford to wait and see what everyone else is doing.
It really is a gamble for these drivers at the moment to be coming onto a set of the well, they're pitted for a fresh set of the inters at this point. Not really seeing what everyone else around them has been doing. I think they are, yeah. I thought they were going to go on to wets when I just came back there, but it is a fresh set of the intermediates for George Nader and Luke Smith, so they're not going to be able to go to the end on that set that they originally fitted. Is Jake Benham going to see this as a call to pit? He's using the battery, not coming into the pits this time by, however. So yeah. Drake Dempsey on a set of the wets as well. I mean, it's a very odd call, I'd say.
Yeah, I mean, fair play to him. He's not losing time to Jake Benham at the moment, but you'd be expected to gain time to Venom, because he's got 18 lap old tyres and you're on fresh tyres, and he's certainly lost out in all of this. Yona Martins has come into the pits. They were sort of more the drivers that I think, you know, if you are right down at the back of the field, it's worth doing something different. I mean, Yona, after a fantastic Q1, crashed out of Q2, and that's really set the tone for this. So he has gone for a full set of the wet tyres. It is going to be so interesting. Of course, the wetter it gets, the better the tyre life's going to be for the intermediates, but they've already put 18 laps through those tyres. They've already probably burnt through the best of them. Yeah, it's this is where the strategists earn their money, and this is where the drivers earn their money as well. And these are the races we love to see. In a dry race, it's pretty obvious what you've got to do with the strategy. In a full wet race, it's pretty obvious what you've got to do with the strategy. This is where the drivers have got to be telling their engineers how things feel at the moment. The engineers have got to be relaying the time information to everyone else. And I think it is showing, if you come into the pits, you've got to put on a fresh set of the intermediates. The full wet tyres aren't working at the moment, but that could all change in about 2 or 3 minutes' time as our race leader, Jake Benham, enters the pit lane.
I think that's fair enough for Jake Benham to come into the box. I wouldn't be surprised if the likes of Soriano, Pedronio and Otmir come in. Well, Otmir wouldn't, of course, because he would have been double stacked with Jake Benham. But no, Benham is the only one out of the leaders coming into the pit lane. Of course, he'll have a massive advantage to the likes of Nader and Luke Smith in behind, but I wonder what their delta is going to be. They are currently headed down the start-finish straight, just crossing the line. Left, Connor Muir has got a 3-second time penalty for just corner cutting. I mean, that was bags. That is one of Harlan Marquise, and I think that really does go to show the struggle that the full wet tyres are showing at the moment. As Benham's come out in a precarious situation, he's in traffic at the moment. He's got Manuel Biancalila to his outside. He really does need to clear the Aston Martin, who doesn't care. And no, Jake Benham been sent into a spin. There's contact with Manuel Biancalila, and now Jake Benham, I mean, that is heartbreaking to see. He's been overtaken by Nader and Smith. Manuel Biancalila having contact with Jake Benham, who leaves the session. And, I mean, he is well within his rights to fight for position. But he is not racing Jake Benham. They are not in the same race at the moment. That is your net race leader out of this race now.
And out of this race, and out of this championship contention. All of a sudden, that is it for Jake Benham. Just, that was the risk with coming into the pits. You know, you put yourself into all of that traffic. You know, he'll be thinking, Manuel's not in this race, he should have given up. Manuel will be thinking, we're fighting for the same piece of tarmac there. You weren't fully ahead. I've got every right to take that corner. And they have made the contact, but yeah, that is game over for Jake Benham. Unfortunately for him, Soriano's leading Dempsey. Oh, it's all gone wrong for him. He retires in the pits. That confirms it. Wet tyres were not the way to go for this. We saw Harlan Marquis have that spin as well. I mean, I say wet tyres aren't the way to go. Xander Van Dyken's AI has gone for the wet tyre. So maybe, just maybe, they know something that we don't at the moment. But such a shame that between Manuel and Jake Benham, it just looked like they were both aiming for the same piece of tarmac, and it didn't end up working out. And Jake, I think, understandably, absolutely furious with that one. And he was parked in the middle of the track for a good few seconds there. I think just calming down, or maybe retrieving whatever he'd smashed off his desk, because I certainly wouldn't be happy if that had happened to me. We say we've got George Nader in the net lead of this race. He's 14 seconds behind Mirko Soriano with 14 laps to go. And let's not forget, Jarno Otmir has 1 lap fresher tyres than those ahead of him. Do not write out these, or we're going to try and go through this race on the same set of intermediates.
I mean, these are the types of races I really do love, where it's not clear-cut who's going to take victory. I mean, for a while it looked like Jake Benham, clear-cut, was going to win this race. Now it's completely been turned on its head, and I do feel really bad for him in that sense. But this race is just a complete question mark at this moment in time, and I don't know who's going to come out on top. Will it be beneficial to have pitted and be on the fresher intermediates towards the end of this race, or is it going to be the way of just hanging on in there, doing sort of an endurance style, trying to keep the tyres in check? And I mean, we'll just have to wait and see. Lap number 24 of 36. We are nearing the end of this Grand Prix. We're at, I believe we're at the quarter-way mark, actually. No, we're not at the moment. We are closing. We are closing to the 3-quarter-way mark in this race. I think we're about 2/3 of the way through. Still plenty of action left to be had. At the moment, Georges Nader not catching by a second a lap that he does need to beat Mirko Soriano. But of course, as those tyres continue to degrade, the worse and worse pace that he is going to have, as Luke Smith having a scrap with Liam Parnell at the moment. Parnell on 18-lap-old tyres, and of course he pitted under the safety car to get his 5-second time penalty removed at this point. He's now only got 3 seconds to his name. As they head on towards lap number 25, Luke, there's still so much action left to be had.
Yeah, and like you said, Nader's not catching enough. He's only gained 0.4 of a second on that last lap on Soriano and Brenyo and Opmia up at the front of the field. They're not losing too much time, so they're going to be feeling pretty good about things at the moment. Antoine Zaleski manages to make a move then on Conor Muir, some of the old Xbox stalwarts. That move getting done there, and Carter Lundy trying to go round the outside of Modesto Maynard. Thomas Wanhar tried that earlier on, and it didn't work out too well for our championship leader coming into this race. And as things stand at the moment, he would still be leading the championship coming into the final race, but it would be severely reduced, especially if Jarno Opmeer makes a move on Ruben Pedreño down the inside at Pinarino. That is Jarno Opmeer in towards second place. The Flying Dutchman working his way through the order at 1 lap fresher intermediate tyres, doing what they need to for now.
Yeah, very impressive stuff from Jarno Opmeer. He's been very consistent in the wet, and he's just been able to work his way into that front fight, and now he can see himself getting some really strong points. And if these tyres can last to the end, he might be our race winner if he's able to get by on Soriano, who is now beginning to struggle for pace. Nader is now only back by 12.7 seconds. So he is certainly closing that gap. However, with all that traffic in between, if they don't pit, it is going to be so difficult for Nader to get through on them. And he's not too far off the back of Andrei Tarabuc, and that's going to be the first of his traffic worries. And it's going to look difficult at the moment. They are just coming through the first corner. Not the first corner, the Curva del Sol, the leaders coming out of Descida de Largo. So at the moment, it doesn't actually seem like there's too much of a difference on circuit. At the front of the circuit, or at the front of the pack, we could see some drivers maybe having a surprise result here. Still so much left to go with just 10.5 laps left here.
Yeah, it seems like, and we see this a lot in real Formula 1 as well, like, the first couple of laps on the intermediates, they're great, they're giving you the grip, and then you just burn through that layer of tread and everything just settles down. I mean, obviously, you know, it is intermediate conditions. It's not like we're going to see into slicks or anyone attempting slick tyres. You're just going to be useless. But Nader's not gaining the time that he needs. David Smith, obviously Jake Benham out of this session. Martins, Marquis, the wet tyres have not worked out for them, so they're going to be out of this one. Nader's going to find it tough to work his way through this field, like you said, but he should still have quite a big pace advantage, I imagine, in a couple of laps time when the intermediates really start to fall off. What could help him is if we start getting a battle at the front of the field. Pedreño, he started dropping back into the clutches of Joseph Lowe, and Jarno Opmeer is now within half a second of Mirko Soriano. 10 laps to go, about 12 minutes away then from knowing who's going to take the victory in this race. And if it finishes as they are at the moment, with Jarno Opmeer in second and Thomas Wanhar in 7th, Wanhar would still be leading the championship. If Jarno Opmeer can work his way past Mirko Soriano by going round the outside out of Ferrajova or giving himself the inside line for the next corner, then all of a sudden, I think that'd mean Jarno Opmeer would be leading the championship by 2 points. So this could be a crucial move at the front of the field.
Yeah, Jarno Opmeer really using, he's using up all of his pace now. He's deploying some of the battery, especially down the Retroposta. Wasn't able to quite get the move on Mirko Soriano, but I'd imagine he's got that gap down to now 0.2 of a second in towards turn number 1. Is going to be the prime spot for this overtake as he gets off the exit of Yun Sao, right in the wheel tracks of the Ferrari, using the battery and tucking into the slipstream. When is he going to go for this one? Looking to the outside, he has to take to the grass as Soriano has a bad run through the mid part of that straight, now headed down in towards the first corner. They're going to be wheel to wheel. Opmeer around the outside, Soriano holding that inside. There's a slight bit of contact between the pair of them. Opmeer almost forced off the circuit, and now they're going to run wheel to wheel through Curva del Sol. Opmeer has to go around the outside. Can he do it like he did earlier on in this race? Indeed he can. Jarno Opmeer now leads this race. Ruben Pedreño on the back of this fight as well as they head down in towards Descida de Largo. Jarno Opmeer's got that move secure. He leads this race. Mirko Soriano down to second position, and he could be under pressure from Ruben Pedreño here, but great battling all round here.
Yeah, no, I think there was more than a slight bit of contact there. That could have ended very badly indeed. George Nader, he's having his own little battle here, and so is Luke Smith. Both of them Getting onto the curve there, Manuel Biancalila involved in this. Andre Tamabukin as they're trying to fight their way through the field. And this is what you said, Dan. Round the outside at Femajova goes George Nader on Manuel Biancalila, who's still alongside him. And we know the Aston Martin esports driver we saw earlier on. He is not going to give up whatsoever, but I think he's got no grip on his tyres to fight. And that is George Nader back into the points for now. He's 12.7 seconds off the lead of this race with 8 laps to go. He needs Uppbeat, Suriano, Pedreño, Lopes and Dazaleski's tyres to fall off a cliff if he's going to have any chance in this race. And I think with Suriano, what did him there? He just caught the curb as he was accelerating, through this grandstand section. That's not a problem at all in the dry conditions. In the wet, lost the car. That allowed Riano to get round the outside. And Suriano just braked far too late and thankfully didn't end in damage for them. That could have been another Mercedes having some big problems in this race. Biancalila comes into the pits, speeds into the pit lane. Any chance he's had of getting points has gone out of the window. It looks like Uppbeat is to lose all of a sudden. And Mercedes has dominated the majority of this race, but it was his teammate, Jake Benham. Jarno Uppbeat are picking up the pieces, and as things stand, will be leading the championship going into Abu Dhabi.
Absolutely, and this is really teeing up everything to be one of the most dramatic finales in WOR history. It's like the passing of the god, if you could say. I mean, Jarno Uppbeat has been dominant in the F1 esports scene for so long. Thomas Ronhaar, a rookie in this F1 esports season. 2 Dutch drivers battling head-to-head for the title in WOR Season 13. It would be a masterpiece to see Jarno Uppbeat just extending that gap. And he's been able to actually, in all that battling, extend the advantage to George Nader and Luke Smith. Those guys not looking likely to be taking any strong points this race. I think it's all about damage control. However, we saw Manuel Biancalila come into the pits for a set of the wet tyres, interestingly enough, but maybe that could be a sign of things to come, that those intermediates are not what they used to be. And Cartalundi ahead of George Nader, actually trying to make a move on Modesto Mena in towards turn of 1. Not quite going to be able to overtake this time by, but still on lap number 30, and these tyres are 26 laps old for the 8th and 9th place driver, and yet they're still fighting like they're just brand spanking new.
Yeah, and they are fighting, and that's the problem for Nader and Smith. I think if these were just individuals, they'd have been able to pick them off one by one at the moment, and it wouldn't have been so much of a problem, but they're having to fight extremely hard, and quite rightly so, because they're in a battle for the points. Ronhaar, Mena, Lundy aren't giving an inch at the moment. I mean, Thomas Ronhaar, with that 3-second penalty, as things stand at the moment, he'll be scoring no points whatsoever, so that would give Uppbeat an 8-point lead going into the final race, as Lundy, I think, thought about a move down the inside there into the right hand of it, turn 7, and realised would have been quite a long way back and almost certainly would have ended in contact. From the on-board shot, those tyres look even bald at the moment. Looks like they are nearly on into slicks, but they're clearly giving some grip at the moment, and they are clearly frustrating the hell out of Nader and Smith, who have got ahead of Tamabukin, but Tamabukin's sticking with them.
Yeah, a fair play to Ando Tamabukin. He's had a rough race so far. I mean, he's been in all sorts of battles, and he's really been sticking in. Here's Cartalundi, looks to the outside, and Modesto Meda headed in towards the first corner. Can he finally get the run on the inside that he wanted last time? Not quite, as they head in towards the braking zone. Thomas Ronhaar leading this 6-car train on lap number 31. Who would have thought? This is for P7, of course, and it is great to see they're all still scrapping it out, as now Cartalundi looks to have got a good run out of Curva del Sol. There was no room at the end around the outside. George Nader can do nothing but watch at the moment. He just can't get the gap close enough, as all of them following in this train still remaining where they were. However, Mena's got the run on Thomas Ronhaar. A position could be lost for the Haasman, our championship leader, not to be at the end of this race. He's holding it down the inside of the Ferrari car. Can Cartalundi try and stick his nose in here? As a slide from Mena, slight bit of contact with himself and Thomas Ronhaar. That's the second time they've come together in this race. Mena looking to the inside at Pinarino. He's going to have to go around the outside at Pico de Pato, still running wheel to wheel through here. Can they get through this cleanly, as now they're once again running 2 wide, 3 rows deep on these old, worn-out intermediate tyres as they fly through Magulio. Thomas Ronhaar still holding his own, and he is able to stick ahead. Cartalundi has snuck up the inside on Modesto Mena. Can George Nader finally finally find an opportunity, or is it going to be Luke Smith to try and slip on through for the position? Andre Tarabukin running wheel to wheel with the Alpine car. Meanwhile, up ahead, Carter Lundy looking for P7 ahead of Thomas Ronhaar, and he's going to go up the inside in towards the centre. This is the beginning of lap number 32. Carter outside, but he's gone off the circuit, and he's going to have to concede all of those positions. He's outbroken himself there. Thomas Ronhaar lives to fight another day, and he's going to remain in P7. But Luke still, once again, headed on towards lap number 32. They're all still scrapping it out.
I mean, I'm going to have to watch this about 5 times to work out what on earth has just happened. All of a sudden, you've got Maida behind Tarabukin. Luke Smith's got ahead of Modesto Maina in all of that. This has just been like absolutely crazy, and it started with Tarabukin just going a bit too deep into Decido de Largo. Yona Martin's wet tyres have come alive all of a sudden. He's up in towards 13th. He posted a meme on Twitter earlier on of him being a clown in this field. He might be a clown who's able to get some points all of a sudden, because those wet tyres are coming in their own at the moment. Down the inside of George Nader, down the inside of Modesto Maina. Yona Martins is flying on these wet tyres. It's like he's in a different formula at the moment to everyone else. Harlan Marquis retires in the pits at the front of the field. Yana Watmia 7 seconds ahead with 5 laps to go. He's not going to be challenged. How far up the field could Yona Martins get? Because the pace he's showing at the moment, he might be flying his way past Thomas Ronhaar, and in fact here comes Carter Lundy. He braked way too late for turn number 1 on the last occasion. Has he learnt from that? Down the inside, in towards the first corner. There's contact between the Alpha and the Haas car, and still Thomas Ronhaar somehow managing to stay ahead of this one. I think Yona Martins has actually lost a couple of places in all of that all of a sudden. This is breathless action, Dan. I've got a funny feeling it's not over yet, as Zaleski and Loke are battling up ahead, and that's Lundy round the outside. He's going to get run out of road in all of that one, and that's going to give Smith, Martins and Tarabukin an opportunity.
Oh my word, as they head up towards Ferragiro. Oh, there's contact! Carter Lundy sliding towards Thomas Ronhaar, who's now pushed all the way off the circuit and outside of a points-paying position. Down into 11th place now. Carter Lundy getting very aggressive. Yona Martins comes out of nowhere. We got a yellow flag. Luke Smith has gone around. What is going on lap number 33 of this Grand Prix? And if Jake Benham stayed in this race, his AI's been able to actually get into this train. He could have had some decent points in this one, as Thomas Ronhaar gets by on Carter Lundy. I think he didn't want to fight that one too hard, given that what happened earlier. Antoine Desaluski manages to overtake Room Petrano. I forgot that this top 6 even existed at this point in the Grand Prix. We've not seen them for so many laps because of all the action. 3 more laps to go in this race at this point. Modesto Maina and Georges Nader having their scrap for P11 at this point. Luke Smith, who's had that unfortunate collision earlier on, he is now watches the rear of Georges Nader. So much is going on. I can't keep up with any of it.
I mean, I don't want the chicken flag to come here. This is absolutely, like you said, it's breathless action at the moment. This is absolutely brilliant. I mean, Jake Benham's AI is getting involved in all of this as well. Even the AI tower thing fun, and I hope they don't wave the checkered flag in this one. There goes George Nader on the curb, getting past Modesto Maina. And I think that's Luke Smith flying past both of them. This is just absolute chaos. Carter Lundy back ahead of Thomas Ronhaar for now, and Andre Tarabukin on 31 lap-old tyres down the inside of Thomas Ronhaar, who might get away because of all what's happening behind. He might still end up getting a point out of all this. Yona Martins, I said how high up the field could he get? He's up in towards 6th. His wet tyres have come alive all of a sudden. And after that contact earlier on, Yona Martins is not looking too bad. There is a Dutchman at the front of the field. Yana Watmia 12 seconds ahead with 2 laps to go. Pretty sure who's going to take first place. Who's going to take second across the line though? Because Soriano having to defend from Zaleski deep in towards turn number 1. Goes for the Italian Zaleski. Can he try it round the outside on 32 lap old intermediates? He's got so much grip out of nowhere. That is Zaleski into second.
Oh my word, Soriano's going to try and challenge him towards the outside line with 2 laps to go. Gets the switch back as Desaluski runs a bit deep off the exit of Decido de Largo. Now they're going to take the run up towards turn number 5 at Ferragiro. The ERS situation, Desaluski has 10%. Soriano's got 64. He is in a great position to fight this one back on the final lap of this Grand Prix. The pair of them a 13.9 seconds off the back of Jan Otmir. Loving life at the minute at the head of the field, being eliminated in Q2. I had written him off, and I am never going to make that mistake again. Jan Otmir has at the moment, and he is about to take the final lap of this Grand Prix in what has been one of the most action-packed Brazilian races I've ever seen.
And I think there's still more action to come. It seems to have calmed down a tiny bit further back, but you've still got Maynard and Bianca Lila now having their own little battle. We're at the point the wet tyres are finally the best tyre to be on in this race, and it's just come a bit too late. Well, some of these drivers, Bianca Lila around the outside of Modesto Maynard for 13th place. He's not going to get any points. Thomas Ronhaar not going to get any points in this one. Mirko Soriano's tyres seem to have fallen off a cliff more than some of the others. I don't know how De Zaleski's done it in these final few laps. He's become a man possessed and has shot past Loke, Pedreño and Soriano cleanly. And we've seen Smith and Nader struggling to do it when they've got 17 lap younger tyres than the drivers that they're battling with. And Jona Martins, he's catching on to the back of this pack. One more lap. Jona Martins might have had a chance of getting a podium here, but I think he's just going to lose out in all of this. Andre Tawabukin works his way past Conor Muir. His tyres have completely gone. It won't surprise me if Conor Muir's got a puncture. Luke Smith works his way ahead of Thomas Ronhaar, and I think George Nader is going to get involved in all of that one. But coming through the final corner, Jarno Otmir, completely oblivious to all the chaos, is going to take a fantastic win and the lead of the championship.
Absolutely. We thought it would have been Ronhaar celebrating championship glory here in Brazil, but we go to Abu Dhabi as Jan Otmir crosses the line. He takes victory in dominant style. We thought it would go the way of Jake Benham. Mercedes are still happy, but it's the other side of the garage. Jan Otmir is your winner here in this Brazilian Grand Prix on circuit. Antoine De Zaleski is going to come home in second. With that penalty applied, though, Mirko Soriano is going to pull ahead of him. De Zaleski keeps the podium. Pedreño's fourth. Loke is fifth. Sixth for Jona Martins. I mean, take a bow for considering he was like 14th place just a few laps ago in P6. Andre Tawabukin with a very, very difficult race ahead of him. He takes 7th. 8th for Lundy. 9th for Smith. And Georges Nader rounded out your top 10. The big name not in that top 10 cars is, of course, Thomas Ronhaar. No points in this race. Antoine De Zaleski, driver of the day. And I think I have to agree. I mean, that was an incredible performance from him today.
I mean, there's so many drivers who could be deserving. I mean, obviously, I think that's the biggest race gap we've seen all season. Jarno Otmir didn't put a foot on. Jake Benham, could that have been him? Would he have managed to fight through the field in the way that Nader and Smith were unable to do so? Jona Martins, one more lap. I think we've been seeing him on the podium. Andre Tawabukin went straight on lap number 1. He was down to 17th from 18th. Somehow managed to get himself in the points. But at the end of all that, it is Jarno Otmir who takes the victory and now has an 8-point lead in the championship. And I think also as well, Ruben Pedreño is still in this battle as well. So Otmir, Ronhaar and Pedreño, those are the three still in the championship battle. Jake Benham, unfortunately, without scoring any points, he misses out.
Real shame for Jake Benham, I'd say. I mean, he was in prime position to win this race, and I think he would have if it weren't for his collision with Manuel Biancalila. I'd imagine that is going to go to the stewards. But there it is, your classification on screen. Jan Otmir wins this race. Mirko Soriano second, third for De Zaleski, Pedreño fourth, Loke and Jona Martins fifth and sixth, Tawabukin 7th, 8th for Lundy, 9th for Luke Smith, Nader in 10th, Conor Muir unfortunately just outside that top 10 in 11th, Maynard 12th, 13th for Ronhaar, 14th for Biancalila, Parnell 15th, and your DNFs today, Jake Benham, Xander Van Dyken, Harlan Marquise, Drake Dempsey, and Primoz Miklavčić. And that brings us to the end, Luke, of what was possibly the most dramatic race of this season.
I did a 10k earlier on today. I think I ran out of breath more in that race than I did when I did the run. I mean, it was just action everywhere. You didn't know where to look at different points. We had, De Zaleski fighting his way through the field, Otmir pulling off some brilliant moves at various points. All of a sudden, Jona Martins' wet tyres became the ones to be on, and he was just at a different pace to anyone else. Nader and Smith trying to fight through the field, but they were unable to do so. Benham had that contact. We have Bianca Lila. I mean, yeah, just so much happened in all of that. The upshot, obviously, Jarno Otmir, you can never write him out in the wet conditions. He just seems to read the grip, read the tyres, read everything better in the WOR. I mean, I don't want to say he's unbeatable because there's always someone who could come along and beat them, but I think everyone else will be glad it's Abu Dhabi for the last race, and the chances of us getting rain there were incredibly slim because today, as soon as Benham was out of the equation, he looked unstoppable. And I think even if Jake hadn't had his issue with Bianca Lila, I don't think he might have got up onto a podium place, but he wasn't stopping up Mia.
No, Jarno was in such a strong position, and I mean, he was so, I don't know how to describe it really. He was just better in every single way. I mean, I don't like to describe it as that, but it's just true. He was the superior driver today, and I think in the wet conditions is where he really does shine. So I think really well done to Jarno Opmeer. I'd love to get him in for an interview. I'm seeing there's a lot of chat in the tier 1 chat at the moment. There's a lot going on. I'm seeing Joseph Loker said, "Mate, I finished on 90% tires." I mean, how we didn't see any punctures, I do not know, because that is insane amounts of tire wear. And Joseph Loke just about surviving, I'd say.
Yeah, I reckon everyone else was just begging at that point. But I think they saw the issues everyone else was having through the field, Maida and Smith struggling, and thought, you know what, let's just stay out there. I mean, I saw it in another league on the PlayStation platform where someone did something similar. I can't quite remember. I think it might have been Legend on the PlayStation platform in another league did it. Just stayed out forever on a set of intermediate tyres, and he seemed to be the only one that had the pace to do that, a bit like Jarno tonight. And the other drivers were struggling to work their way through, but yeah, that was absolutely dramatic. And you've got one Dutchman there, Jarno Opmeer, doing such a fantastic job. Thomas Ronhard, just everything went wrong for him tonight. Obviously, we're not sure what happened in qualifying. We heard he might have had a crash, but I didn't even see him head out onto the circuit. So unless he crashed on an outlap, which would be very shocking, I'm not sure what happened. But it was all that battle earlier on. I think it was with Modesto Mena, just, got a bit frustrated with that. Contact started being made, and he just got mired in a mess that he was never able to get out of.
Yeah, I mean, there was it was just so much going on, really. My mind is still completely messed up from just how this race has been. But yeah, it did not go Thomas Ronhard's way, and I think races do go like that. Maybe he can get that 3-second time penalty removed if he didn't get any more warnings, but from at least the one that caused the penalty, that doesn't really look like that would be getting removed. He did go off circuit, so yeah, we'll have to wait and see. However, Abu Dhabi is teed up to be a very dramatic title deciding final race. I'm trying to look in the waiting room. We've got both Jarno Opmeer and Mirko Soriano in there, and I think we can bring them in for an interview. Hello, the pair of you. Can you hear us?
I can.
Hello. Okay. Well, we'll start this interview off with yourself, Mirko, and we'll start off with your strategy, I would say, because you decided not to come into the pit lane. How were the tyres at the end?
I had like 78%, I think. So it wasn't that bad. I mean, I saw other people having more. So, but it was so difficult because at the end I was not staying on track. Like I was sliding everywhere. So I tried to fight Jarno, but I didn't expect him to give me like 20 seconds in 10 laps. So, yeah, I don't know. I didn't match the tires, so I was expecting it. But I don't understand how Jarno managed it and then gave us 20 seconds because we were all struggling. Even Ruben, he was behind me, and he's fast and he didn't overtake me. So I kind of understood that we were all struggling, apart from one guy. So GG to him. So.
Yeah, and of course we saw at the end of the race, we saw yourself and Antoine Desaluski getting involved in a massive battle. Can we get your thoughts on that fight between the pair of you?
I mean, my only like goal of that was let him lose some time, because he had 3 seconds of penalty. So I was just thinking, I can let him lose some time, and then I can stay in between the 3 seconds, and that's what I did. I also forced him to defend in turn 4, I think, just to let him lose more time. and yeah, mission accomplished.
Yeah, absolutely, and it worked out for you. You ended up in P2, headed into Abu Dhabi now. How are you feeling for that circuit?
I never did a race in Abu Dhabi.
Oh, well, fair enough. I mean, best
fair
of,
enough.
yeah, fair enough. I mean, best of luck to you, and I hope we can see you in the interview room next week. But we'll let you get away and enjoy your podium. Mirko Soriano, everyone.
Thanks.
Okay, and that brings us on to our race winner. I was told in the live chat he was changing his headset. Jarno, can you hear us? It doesn't seem like at the moment Jarno can hear us. I'm going to quickly check in his stream if he is at his desk. Oh, hello.
Yeah, that works.
Okay, perfect. Hello. First of all, really well done on your race this evening. But we'll start off with your qualifying. Eliminated in Q2 in 11th place. What went wrong there?
Well, it's always hard just jumping on for league racing. It's a little bit part of our practice, or it used to be at least. Not so much anymore, but yeah, so just didn't have the pace, didn't have the right setup on, and that made it harder. But yeah, when I saw the rain in the race, I was already quite happy, even though I was starting P11. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean it worked out in your favour, and we saw we saw in the early stages of the race yourself and Thomas Ronhall doing a great job of making up the places. But originally it was Jake Benham that was in the race winning position, and I know that the pair of you are very good friends. Were you in a VC together, and if there was any sparks flying after his collision with Manuel Biancalila?
No, he was sitting right next to me, to be honest. Because we were both at the F1 factory, and yeah, he wasn't happy, I think so. But yeah, I think I had an incident last week. I couldn't really do much about, and today it was Jake's turn. So yeah, it happened.
Yeah, I mean, it does happen. It's really unfortunate that Jake Benham is now unfortunately eliminated from championship contention. However, yourself, you lead this championship headed into the final race of the season at Abu Dhabi. Do you have any fighting talk for your rival Thomas Ronhall headed into this one?
No, not really. I mean, I'm still focusing on F1 Esports, to be honest. So I mean, I'm fighting him in F1 Esports as well for the title, of course. So yeah, this is a little warm up for that.
Surely WR is more important than F1 Esports.
Yeah, F1 Esports is more warm up for WR, of course.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
Yeah. I hope we can have a good battle. How many points am I at? Is it, you guys know? 8. Okay.
I think it's, and this might be wrong because I've just done it in my head. I think it's you're on 144. I think Ron Hall's on 136, and Pedreño on 125. So still a three-way battle.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Exciting.
Well, it is teeing up to be one of the most intense endings to a WOR season, but we'll let you get away and enjoy that win and the rest of your stream. Once again, really well done for this dominant display here in Brazil. We hope to see you again next week. But that is Jarno Opme, everybody.
Thank you.
And that brings us to the end of what is potentially one of the races of the season, Luke. I mean, God, there was so much to digest, but I think Jarno Opme, you really do just have to think about his incredible display.
Yeah, I mean, just looked unstoppable once he got out ahead. I mean, at the first part of the race, he was moving through the field at a pretty good rate, like you'd expect him to do. Nothing majorly magical. Once it became clear that Nader and Smith couldn't fire through the field, you thought, you know what, he's got a chance of a podium here, and it's like something clicked inside him all of a sudden, and it sort of reminds me in a way, we see this quite a few times with Lewis Hamilton, when things haven't gone well for him in qualifying. First half of the race, you'll be like, you know what, this isn't looking great for him, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, he's in a race-winning position, and you're like, why on earth did we doubt him? He's done this so many times before. And it's the same thing tonight with Jarno. We know he's good in the wet, but we thought starting in 11th, you know, especially with the way Jake started, was there any chance of him taking the victory? You've still got to feel sorry for Jake Benham. It would have been interesting to see what could have happened if he had been able to fight his way through the field cleanly, because he had some he had some very good pace. So Mercedes was just working well in the wet today. But ifs and buts and all that doesn't really matter. We're in a situation now where if Jarno finishes second in 2 weeks' time in Abu Dhabi, he will be the WOR Season 13 champion.
Absolutely, of course. We're not racing next week for the England-Wales match. However, we will be back. We'll be back in 2 weeks' time. For now, however, you can follow us on Twitter at WOR League. Subscribe to us on YouTube. It is the big red button beneath the stream. You cannot miss it. And make sure to join our Discord. The link is in the description. If you'd like to follow myself on Twitter, it is at DanfieldF1_. You can see it right beneath my name, and the same goes for Luke at Luke Etheridge 95. But from us this evening, I believe that is all. Thank you for joining us in what was one of the most intense races this season, and I hope that the action carries on in towards Abu Dhabi. Stay safe, everyone, and thank you very much for watching.